Okay, we have a green box up and we have a live counter ticking up, so we should now be live.
All right, then. Hello there, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode in which we talk about magical natural substances that cause alterations to your mind and body. We are, of course, discussing devil fruits. More specifically, we're tier listing devil fruits because tier lists are easy content and they're also a lot of fun to do.
Mm.
Um,
They are.
Mill, you might want to change the stream title because it's listed as in Kanto.
Is it? God damn it! I didn't press done. I thought I pressed done. God damn it!
Look, if it's not a stream without technical difficulties, let's be
Yeah,
real.
but this is the first time I've done that
Quite a
one in a
while without-
while. That's just
Yeah,
annoying. Could have
Yeah.
sworn I'd done it. Fuck.
Well,
Hey.
it's those technical difficulties. I'm talking more just general technical difficulties, like whether someone has issues with Discord or their game suddenly crashes or what have you. Like, if you
Yep.
don't have a little technical difficulties, how can you call yourself a streamer? Also, you might want to put the full spoiler warning in chat because this is all of the devil fruits, canon and non-canon.
Mm-hmm.
Though we will not be discussing the non-canon ones, we're just gonna put them in the filler tier. This is all devil fruits, all the time, full spoilers. So you have been warned. You may want to sit this one out. But at this point, if you are still interested in One Piece content, either you're not afraid of being spoiled, you've already been spoiled, or you're caught up.
Mhm.
Right? Like at this point.
Basically. But yeah,
Reminds me. Let me.
let's add a little thing onto the tier. A filler tier at the bottom.
And while you're doing that, let's also set some ground rules. There's only one ground rule I can think of, but I'm sure you guys can add something.
Probably.
I believe we should rank these according to the fruit and not the user.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. That was going to be my rule one.
Now, if there's any other things you can think of off the top of your head, we should state that right from the get-go.
I mean,
of course,
nope.
We can add things later, but
yeah. I mean, what I would say is, are you all happy with how many tiers there are? Because this is a lot.
We don't need a triple S tier. That seems ridiculous.
Do we need all the way
think,
through to F, or can we get rid of D and E?
Well, let's get rid of E, not D. Let's have D and F next to each other for devil fruits.
I also think you could just replace F tier with filler tier.
No, there are some truly abysmal devil fruits.
Mm-hmm.
Something. There's no bad devil fruits, only bad devil fruit users.
There are a handful of exceptions to this.
We'll see. Take it as it comes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If we find out that there's no real need for F, we'll drop it. But in the meantime,
if we get to the point where we've gone through multiple fruits that seem like they would be F, but they actually end up in D, yeah, we'll get rid of F. But for the time being,
I think the first 2 or 3 are all filler fruits. By the way,
right. I mean, you are gonna have to tell me. I barely remember.
Fourth one is Alvita. Fourth one is Alvita.
Okay, Jack, do you want to open up the One Piece Devil Fruits wiki page?
Yeah, I'll do that, sure.
Oh. My very ferocious guard dog has detected a knock on the door. I will be right back.
Bite their ankles off, Biscuit. Bite their ankles off.
So the problem is that she doesn't actually... Do you know what she does when someone knocks on the door? The reason she barks is because she's demanding that they give her belly rubs. Like, the moment she sees someone come in, she just flops down to their feet and shows her belly.
I'm just imagining burglars just breaking in and hearing Biscuit Mark going, "Oh no, there's a guard dog." Looks down, she's just on her back with the paws in the air. So it's
That is
demanding belly
literally the
rubs.
scenario that would occur, yes.
But it's actually very clever because her barks will wake you up, and while they're distracted
no, we
giving
would
her
at
belly
least-
rubs, you can call the authorities.
I'll get the knife.
Fair enough, you do you. Police are generally awful, so
Look, I'll call the authorities, but also get the knife. It's like you should always have multiple layers of strategy. Something, self-defense. But yeah, the first one is Alvita, right?
Mm-hmm.
So remind me again what her fruit is.
So it's
the slipstick fruit.
So her fruit is one of those fruit that I'm wondering if it has a lot more utility than is shown by her. But basically, she can eliminate friction on surfaces, but somehow that includes making all of the fat leave her body?
It's one of the early devil fruits that has weird powers that don't really get explained very well.
You say that, but the first devil fruit was the gum fruit, and that we thought that was a very well explained power for over 1,000 chapters.
Look, the first two devil fruits that we encounter are also very simple. Luffy and Buggy have very simple devil fruits. Alvita's is the first one that we encounter that isn't really super straightforward because it has additional stuff in addition to just making her effectively frictionless. It's like the first one that has funky secondary effects, you know?
That said, I do think there's a lot of utility there. It's wasted on Alvita because she's like weak. But
I feel like the biggest utility is just the combination of defense and mobility is quite useful.
It's not as extreme as Luffy, but it definitely makes blunt attacks much less effective.
Yeah. Sharp attacks are probably also less effective unless it's really hard to actually hurt Alvita without, like, hockey.
No. Biscuit, I will give you French fries. Don't be rude about it. No, you can still stab her.
Okay.
Right? You may have a harder time slashing her, but any sort of piercing attack will work on her.
I see.
Bullets as well, because remember, no friction does not mean no force is transmitted.
True. She also did get caught by Smoker just restraining her.
Yeah, so there are limits. Like, it's not like she can completely... Like a net, for example. Just because it slips doesn't mean she can actually just squeeze through the gaps in a net.
Yes.
So it's good. I think the mobility aspect is much more important than the defensive aspect.
I'd say probably a B or C though. I can't put it higher than B.
I don't think B tier is suitable. I think C tier is best. I think like B is too high.
C tier feels appropriate. It does have some utility, but it's pretty limited utility.
Certainly high C, but still C.
Yeah.
All right.
Next to our filler fruits, then we have Apu.
Apu's is very good.
It has a really good devil fruit.
Apu's is very good until you realize, it's useless if you can't hear it.
Yeah, so that does knock it down a peg. I still think it's an A or B tier fruit because it is it has a lot of utility and it's basically unavoidable.
Does it have a lot of utility, or is it just good for fighting?
It's good for fighting.
Yeah,
we don't know if it has any other abilities beyond that. But it is extremely useful as a devil fruit.
There are some questions yet. We don't have all of the information about it. But I feel like the effects we've seen cannot be all it's got.
Mm-hmm. It is a very powerful offensive devil fruit, though.
It's good. It's good for offense, but like from what we've seen, the most powerful devil fruit users have very balanced devil fruits. Right?
Mhm.
Like a purely offensive devil fruit does not seem like it's enough
Yeah.
in
I do
late
think
One Piece.
I do think a B tier seems appropriate because it is like a very much a glass cannon devil fruit. Very powerful
Yeah.
offensively, but not much utility beyond that.
I would definitely call it high B tier.
Yeah.
One moment, please, though. You keep talking. I can still hear you, but I'm gonna have to mute.
Okay. But yeah, Apu, high B tier.
Okay.
That's a filler one. Baby 5.
Hers was the weapon one, wasn't it?
Yep. Arms, fruits. Which is admittedly a pretty damn good devil fruit. I think it's basically Mr. 1's devil fruit cranked up to 11. In terms of like abilities. But she can turn into any weapon, not just like bladed weapons. That already puts an advantage in terms of utility and utility rather. She's also been able to use her ability to an extent for
movement.
It's mostly just been mostly for combat and movement. Doesn't have a lot of outside.
It's important also to note that her fruit is one of the only 4 confirmed straight upgrade devil fruits in the series.
It's an upgrade on Mr. 1's.
But I think this is one of those fruits that's going to be very, very dependent on its limits and rules, because what exactly defines what a weapon is? Like, does she have to know about the weapon? Does it have to be a weapon that currently exists, or could it be a weapon that could exist? For example, let me give you a potential example. The pacifista are technically weapons, so could someone using this fruit just turn into a pacifista?
Okay, I thought you were just gonna say like fucking manifest a pacifista as their arm.
No, why not?
They might. This weapon would probably, or this fruit would probably be busted when it's awakened.
Oh, absolutely. Straight up unlimited blade works up in here.
I mean, you're not limited to blades, remember?
I'm just using an example.
Yeah, Mr. 1 is unlimited blade works. You can just like turn just all of the Daka.
Yes.
And per Mill's point, theoretically, if a pacifista it counts as a weapon for the purposes of this fruit, you could literally create an infinitely respawning army of pacifista.
I mean, another thing with Baby 5's devil fruit is that when she turns into an explosive weapon, she can regenerate herself as well.
Right, that's something I hadn't considered. You could just like disgust the enemy to death.
I mean, well, I was thinking like if you're injured enough, you can just turn yourself into a missile, blow up, and then reform.
Well, that depends. Like, does it regenerate you completely, or does it return you to your pre-weapons state?
That's an interesting question that I don't think we got answered.
I think it's better to err on the side of caution and just assume that it only reverts your state, not heals you fully. Because if it's a full heal, then it would be too busted.
Yeah. It's still a pretty strong devil fruit, though. Though, like with Apu, it doesn't really have a lot of utility or defensive options.
I think it has more utility and defense than Apu, because like you said, it can at least be used for like mobility and movement.
True. So that would probably put it above Apu, if not an A tier.
I would say high B tier.
Yeah.
But I think we're establishing a purely offensive devil fruit is just not good enough.
Mm.
Mm.
If
There
you're
are
looking
a
purely at
handful
the
of
fruit.
There are a handful of exceptions to this, but those fruits are obscenely powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Next
so
one is a filler fruits. But then we have Bartolomeo, who I think is definitely first A tier.
oh, absolutely. Force fields. Anyone who's a longtime reader of comic books and has seen what
Invisible
people with
Woman
force.
is ridiculously powerful.
Invisible Woman
Just-
isn't even the only one. Basically, force fields are just telekinesis, but with a slightly different spin.
Yeah,
Right?
they are
And
incredibly useful abilities.
also, there's something very, very interesting we've seen. Bartolomeo's fruits are legit, or his barriers, his force fields, are legitimately unbreakable. They put
Yeah, we've
strain
never
on
seen
the
them damaged.
user,
Yeah, they've never been damaged that we've seen.
Yeah, they've never been damaged. If you hit them enough, Bartolomeo will like faint from the strain,
Mm.
but the force fields themselves have never actually been damaged.
I mean, yeah, didn't they?
Which, if you think about the logical conclusions of that, that is terrifying.
He took a blow that could stagger a Yonko
Mm.
with no damage. That is insane.
Yeah.
That's A tier. That's an easy A tier.
I would put it in S tier. No, I'm gonna say that depending on the user,
Mm.
like
Because it can be.
I would
Because
say
here's the thing: it can be used for offense, defense, and movement if
Yes.
used right.
so it's got
True.
utility, and it's like just the baseline is very powerful. It's like obviously the final result will be based on the user, but I think the effect alone gives it an S tier.
Okay, let's have it as the bottom of S tier for now, then.
Mm.
Because there
like,
are
think
some
about it.
truly monstrous fruits that would rank above this. I
True,
think.
but like the reason I say this is Bartolomeo himself, his fruit is strong, but the user is not that strong.
Mm.
Relatively
Not
speaking,
yet,
so I feel like he probably doesn't show the full potential of the fruit.
Mm.
Yes.
Like,
That
imagine
is
someone as just strong as like Whitebeard or Garp with this fruit.
So
Jesus Christ.
let's just confirm something. We are basically talking about these fruits as if they were being used by the ideal user.
Yes, we are talking about these fruits based purely on their optimal potential.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Peak potential, basically. Yeah. Next one's also a filler. And then we have Beiying. Who I
This
think
is very interesting.
His is an A in my opinion. Because
I
the
don't.
castle fruit is very, very has a lot of different uses to it.
You know what's
Helps
funny about this?
Yeah.
Is Beige, in my opinion, has the opposite problem as Apu and Baby 5.
Not a lot of direct offensive utility.
Yeah, he's got a lot of. He's got like basically one of the strongest utility abilities, and I would hazard a guess to say that in optimal conditions, this is probably one of the stronger defensive fruits as well. Because, like, you know, it literally turns you into a fortress.
What I think tips it is basically the ability to store a fucking army inside yourself.
Yes. Now, okay. Here's the thing. I've just thought of a couple of adjustments. I'd like to run them by you to see what you think. As Mill said, we should assume that the fruit is being used by the optimal user, but we should not assume their circumstances are optimal.
So I mean, here's the thing. Here's the thing. We are basically judging the fruit's offensive capabilities by who is inside, but that's not part of the fruit.
Yes, that is exactly what I'm saying.
The people don't come as part of the fruit.
let's go over the parameters we're gonna use. So let's set, I'd say, 5 parameters. Overall offensive strength, defensive strength, utility, potential, and any demerits it might have.
That's a very good way of putting it. Yes, I agree with that.
So there's a lot of utility, potential, and defensive capabilities for Beiying's fruit, and it doesn't have any real drawbacks to it. Its only real failing is in direct offensive power. And even then, he can go full kaiju and wreck somebody.
Yes, but at the same time, there is no offensive ability inherent to the fruit itself. It's entirely dependent on the user's circumstances.
It transforms into a giant castle that has cannons on it.
Yeah, I was going to say, it does have cannons.
Wait, did the cannons come with the castle, or did his subordinates use the cannon? Okay, then it has offensive abilities. I thought for a second there that the cannons were part of weapons that he stored inside himself.
No, Big Father has cannons jutting out of him directly.
Right, okay. In that case, I would say it has offensive abilities, but not. Yes, I think we can comfortably put it in
A tier. I don't think S tier is
mid A tier. No, nothing lower than A tier is appropriate. Where it falls on A tier, we can discuss. But the absolute value should definitely be A tier.
Yeah, we'll worry about it relative to other fruits later once we've put more fruits in there.
But I do wholeheartedly agree. Absolute value, A tier.
Yes.
Mel?
So yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So let's stick with those 5 parameters for now, and that'll make things go a bit smoother, I think.
Bellamy.
We're currently in a very good patch. We haven't gotten to the real controversial devil fruits yet. We're gonna start spewing hot takes. There's one in particular that I have long considered, and it's gonna be interesting to talk about.
Well, next one isn't all that good. Bellamy's devil fruits.
So which one is that? Is that the spring guy?
It's the spring fruit, yes.
Yeah.
It's basically like the gum fruits, but reduced to
But worse.
Yeah. It's gum fruit, but worse.
It's good mobility.
It's not... it's a decent ability, but it's not really useful outside of offensive mobility.
No, here's the thing.
Could it be used for defensive abilities?
Yes.
Like, part of your body springy?
No, let me say this. I think this is one of those fruits where we only think it's bad because Bellamy is an idiot.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Because, theoretically, this fruit is a built-in impact dial or even reject dial.
Mm-hmm.
You're not wrong there.
Right? Because theoretically, if you can make your entire body spring-based, the thing about springs is that anything, even a sharp object, can compress springs depending on the properties of the spring.
Has the properties of both rubber and gum.
So here's the thing. What I would say is reduces it. I know I was the one who brought it up in the first place, but we should also keep in mind the fact that unless there is an opposing force behind it, the person is still going to get sent flying. They might not take damage necessarily, but they aren't just going to be able to stay in one place and take it and bounce it off.
We're assuming optimal user. So if you have sufficient physical strength, that becomes less of a demerit. Because remember, even in the case of Luffy's fruit, right? Even without a fruit, Luffy is just, his raw physical stats are just incredibly high.
Yes.
He wouldn't be able to use the fruit otherwise. So if we were to give this fruit to someone with the relevant physical stats...
Let's say Douglas Bullet, seeing as I've got his face in front of me.
Right! Someone like Douglas Bullet. He also, I know he's non-canon, but he's a very good example because he has a fruit that's more utility than raw offense, but he's just really jacked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think we can go a step further. Think about Whitebeard. Whitebeard isn't strong because of his fruit.
I mean, yeah, he's fucking 9 foot tall and ripped.
Yes. What I'm saying is, let's say you gave the tremor, the quake, whatever they call it in English. If you give it to Usopp, do you think he's going to be able to break Marineford in half?
Not immediately. Someday,
but
maybe.
Like, you know what? In one hit, right? Like, I feel like that is another fruit where the raw stats of the user is what determines the power. Like, remember, even if you go head to head with Whitebeard physically, he still has stats, if not on the same level as Garp and Roger, at least at the very top of Paramecia users.
So what?
And I feel like a lot. Yes.
So what does that mean for the spring fruit?
It means that if you have the stats, you can eventually do more damage to your opponent than your opponent does to you.
I was more
because you're not just adding the rebound force; you're also adding your own force in.
It's more meaning in terms of the tier list positioning.
So hold on a second. I think like if we go by using optimal user for all of these, we're going to have a lot higher average rating overall.
Okay, let's not go perfectly optimal.
Let's instead go with having the Devil Fruit's potential be one of the things that we can use as a criteria.
Yes, and we can have potential as a criteria, and I think we can also like just have an average median user.
Yeah, median user and potential as a criteria. So Bellamy is a slightly below average, but he's still not a bad overall user.
He's not that bad, but like if you think about his raw stats, right? Like, okay, let's set some benchmarks then. In terms of absolute bottom, we would put like Chopper's mixed form.
Sounds about right.
Like Chopper's hybrid, like baby hybrid form. That seems like an appropriate bottom. And then at the top, we'd put like Garp or Roger in their prime. So the midpoint of that, I would say a good example might be, if we're going by physical stats, a good example might actually be Frankie, now that I think about it. Right? He's not as ridiculously strong as the pure strength-oriented individuals, but he's also not as weak as the rest of the utility fighters.
Frankie is pretty average by Straw Hat standards, so I think he's a good benchmark.
Well, no, he's not average by any standards. He's average in terms of his raw physical stats. What makes him exceptional is the fact that he's got lots and lots of laser beams.
Good old laser beams.
Yes. So yeah, I would say use Frankie as a baseline. I'm pretty sure Frankie's stronger physically than Bellamy. So I would say based on... I would say B tier.
B tier seems about right.
For the spring fruit. Like, I think what we're getting...
really lost in the weeds on this one.
I was going to say we've been going
an entire stream for it.
I was going to say we've been going for nearly half an hour and we've ranked all of 6 fruits.
We need to do this a bit
Some of them are going to be quicker. Some of them are definitely going to be quicker.
I'd say put this below Baby 5.
Yeah, I would say so as well.
All right.
Above Apu, though. This one has at least the mobility advantage.
It has the mobility aspect, and it does have defensive utility.
Yeah. Bello Betty. Bello Betty is an interesting one. It doesn't seem to apply any direct buffs to yourself, but oh boy, is it useful for a group leader.
This is, I think, the only pure utility fruit we've seen so far.
No, there's a couple others like Moncherie.
Right. Well, no. Theoretically, we don't know if she needs to get consent. We'll talk about her, but she has an interesting fruit. I think Bello Betty, we need to put her like in the completely average C tier on the sheer basis that, as far as we know, it's a pure utility fruit that has absolutely zero effect on anyone but her.
No, it's the opposite. It doesn't have any effect on her.
You know what I mean. Look, sometimes your brain's wires cross.
Above or below?
Above Alvita. Above Alvita.
Definitely above Alvita. It's still very, very powerful. It's just that we're ranking these fruits more or less in a vacuum.
Mm-hmm. Bon Clay's
if not...
The clone fruit is next.
For a second there, I thought you said clown fruit instead of clone.
No, Buggy's not up yet.
It's Buggy, obviously. No, Bon Clay's fruit.
So my question would be, when he clones somebody, does he clone their strength or does he still have his own?
I don't believe he clones their strength, because otherwise...
I think it's appearance only, yes.
However, it is very useful because he can still keep the faces that he has taken. So he's not limited to just like, one and done appearances. Those last. Those.
Yeah, he can basically save any appearance. So he is basically like, the irony is that this is probably both the most appropriate and worst fruit for an Okama to have.
Well, the thing with Bon Clay is that basically he's a master infiltrator. That's like the perfect devil fruit for a spy.
Yes, it's a good fruit for spies, but it's also a very good fruit for assassination.
Yeah, it is.
And I feel like Bon Clay is a good infiltrator, but I don't think he's quite got the...
He's not quite good
full-blown assassination.
He's not great at ass-assing.
Well, look, okay, there's jokes to be made there, but they're all obvious, and we all know what the jokes are, so...
We don't know that he's not good at assassination. The issue is that when we've seen him, he's been hanging around with people that are incredibly hard to assassinate.
True. Also, we have seen another user use this fruit, and Higurashi used it to great effect.
Yeah, I think we can safely put this in high B tier.
Top of B tier, I think.
High B tier, only B tier because it doesn't have any direct offensive utility.
Yeah.
It doesn't really have any utility besides utility. But it is very good for utility. You know, on those grounds, I think we should bump Belle Betty up to a B as well.
Okay, yeah, if we can't not give Belle Betty a B if we're gonna give
I'd say Bon Clay is top of B and Belle Betty is below Bellamy.
Yes.
Lots of B's in there.
Yeah, so I think that's a pretty decent approximation.
All right, so next one is a fun one. It is Beiying, who has the bee fruit.
I don't even remember that being a thing.
That's canon?
Yeah, it's canon. Bug fruit model hornet.
What does it do?
Huh.
It is a zone fruit that transforms a person into a hornet.
Well, yeah, that much was apparent, but
I mean, in terms of bug-based abilities, it's pretty good. Hornets are nasty fuckers.
Definitely. But, like... That's a very interesting thing, mainly because I don't remember the user at all.
Yeah, I don't remember this being a thing at all.
When did it show up?
I mean, obviously, Dressrosa, but there's just so many fucking people to remember from Dressrosa, and so many fruits.
Okay, so here's the thing with this one. I think this one deserves a higher score for no other reason than it allows for flight. Because flight is hella useful.
So it allows some
not a lot of
movement.
fruits allow it. Yeah. Flight is like an extremely useful ability.
What does it allow her in terms of offense and defense?
I mean, if we're going by... this one's a Totada, so not exactly the fairest to judge by that, but...
Oh, okay. She's one of the billion Tontata. Okay.
Okay, at least I knew that.
Yeah.
I could tell based on her face.
I just don't remember much of Dressrosa except the Straw Hats.
I remember Sabo.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Sabo showed up in Dressrosa.
Yeah, but yeah, I think the flight and the whole turning into a hornet with the stinger thing is pretty good for a bug-based devil fruit.
Yeah, but I feel like it's gonna be a real glass cannon situation.
Yeah, no,
absolutely.
Because that flight is going to be dependent on very frail wings.
I still think the flight advantage is important to consider because it is still flying.
For sure, but as I said, that flight is based on very flimsy wings that can get taken out pretty easily.
Okay, so how about low B tier?
Then? I would say low B. Lower B tier is acceptable.
Yeah. Next to our fillers, I believe. And then we have
Blackbeard.
Oh, but it's gonna be fun.
So we just talking about his initial black hole fruit?
Yeah, we're talking about the darkness fruit, I think, exclusively.
Yes. So the thing with this one is it's the only known Logia we have that has a serious demerit to it. Like, this is the only Logia we know of that has an actual significant demerit to its abilities.
Which is?
Yes, because it doesn't have the physical...
him, so he can't dodge.
Yeah, it doesn't have the physical immunity. Or at least the physical immunity is not inherent to it. I'm sure he can figure out a way to make himself immune physically, but I definitely think it's not necessarily inherent. So, it's definitely a tough one, right? So, his powers, right? What do we know so far about his powers? Definitely there's an element...
He can negate other devil fruits, which is a huge one.
Yes, he can. He has the negation. He has the ability to, dish out a lot of raw damage.
Oh.
Right? Because it's gravity.
Yeah.
You can make black holes and stuff. It's obviously not to the point of a true singularity, because if it was, then he would be actually invincible. And he's not. But it's definitely very, very strong.
It is. Excuse me.
So I would say you give this an A tier at the minimum, if not S tier.
I'd say A tier, if only because the two demerits of drawing all attacks to him and needing to have physical contact to actually deactivate another person's devil fruit.
I mean,
those are the two big things holding it back from S tier, in my opinion.
I think so. Okay, yeah. But it's still at the very top of A tier.
Yeah, top of A tier. We'll have this at the very highest peak of A tier. Next one is a more obscure one. He's one of the Whitebeard commanders.
Right.
It's Flamenco. He has the ability to make pockets. And it's hammer space. It's basically hammer space.
Yeah, okay. This is another one. I feel like, honestly, you might call this the upgrade to what's-his-face's fruit.
Bruno?
No. No, one we've... Oh, beige. On
Not
the condition
really.
that he can store living beings.
No, he does. It doesn't seem like he can. His ability is he has pockets on his body and he can store objects in it. And it doesn't matter how big or small the object is.
Okay, in that case, I would say it's more of a side grade.
Yes.
It has advantages over the castle fruit, but it also has disadvantages.
Yes.
So it doesn't provide anything in terms of mobility. Can it be used for defense?
Not really. It is very strong utility, and it has some pretty good offensive potential.
It's got enough. Yes, it's got enough utility and offensive potential to kind of just push it over a lot of other fruit.
Yeah.
I'd still say we're talking high C, low B, though.
High C
I would call high C, yeah. I would say high C, because this is very dependent on your circumstances as well.
Mm-hmm.
Next is Bluno. We talked about him a lot during our coverage of War 7 in his lobby. And
yeah,
it's
because
a very good fruit wasted on a very stupid person.
Yeah, he's a fucking terrible user.
It's like, this is a fruit that is not only wasted on him, but like, it's almost a crime that you have to give portals, people.
To this dumbass.
Like, portals are universally agreed upon to be one of the most obscenely broken things in all of physics. To the point that there are literal theoretical physicists that are like, no, if portals exist, then we just lose our jobs because it just renders physics meaningless.
Okay, so what
is
the direct explanation of this fruit?
Well, for one thing, it breaks the first law of thermodynamics.
Well, he just creates doors. It's literally the door fruit.
So it creates doors. Yes, does he have to be touching the place where he wants to make a door?
He can create air doors. He can turn a person's head into a revolving door. He did that in Luffy. And he is not limited on the size of the doors, because he has demonstrated both person-shaped and sized doors, large circular doors, and small foot-sized doors.
So he can make portals anywhere of any size, even on people.
The only definitive weakness that we know is that his portals are not indefinite. They only remain that way for a short period of time.
Do they lead anywhere?
They can lead from anywhere to anywhere, yes. Usually he uses it to make one directly from one room to another, but if you remember on the C train, he did it across a pretty big distance.
Yeah, he can, like, even if it's, like, okay, let's be as pessimistic as possible and say that his portals are limited to line of sight.
Mm-hmm. That's still a very powerful ability.
That still lets him basically cross entire horizons.
Yes.
So his mobility is functionally infinite. So the mobility provided by this is functionally infinite. The defensive utility is theoretically infinite because he could, in theory,
he could just open a door in front of him and then open the other door behind the person and let them punch themselves.
If you give this to a user with the least bit of combat awareness, nothing short of assassination is going to be able to take them out.
Yeah.
Put it this way, this is very similar to Kurogiri's ability.
Yep.
Yes, and
Kurogiri is this ability on steroids, though.
Kurogiri is a very tough fighter if, you don't know how to combat him.
Also, this has a weakness. Kurogiri has a weakness that this fruit does not seem to have. Because, if you will recall correctly, Kurogiri has a physical body.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And while the user of this fruit does have a physical body, their physical body doesn't actually have to be in the vicinity of their portals.
Yes.
Or like directly connected to their portals.
Mm-hmm.
Kurogiri does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
this is actually really fucking powerful.
It's busted. And this is, we're using the most pessimistic and least powerful conception of this fruit, because we don't actually know what its limits are.
Because if we aren't pessimistic about it, he can go full Gilgamesh.
Yes.
Yeah.
So are we going alone, S then, basically?
This is an S tier fruit. This is without a question an S tier fruit.
It's kind of insane, actually.
Yeah. And just really states how fucking dumb Bluno is.
He lost to pre-time skip Luffy, who had just developed
Gears 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Where did we put Bluno on the villains list? I don't think we put him very high because of this exact reason.
At the bottom, yes, because he's a dumbass.
I'm just gonna check.
He is one of the only person who has a bigger fruit to person mismatch. Isn't even that big of a mismatch, because as we know, Captain Buggy is actually a god who simply is kind enough to allow mere peasants to exist.
Bluno, low C.
Yep, that sounds about right. Next two fruits are going to be fun to talk about. Bonnie's fruits.
What the fuck do we know about this fruit?
It can change the age of living things, is all we know.
Look, time manipulation is kind of busted.
It is.
It is.
But is it a
age
touch?
Manipulation?
Is it a touch ability?
We don't know.
No, every single instance she's used it thus far has involved physical contact.
Still a very powerful fruit, regardless.
Actually, you know what's funny? I think the only person she's used it on other than herself is Zoro, funnily enough.
No, she didn't use it on Zoro. She used it on a bunch of Marines, though, during Samadhi.
I was gonna say, I remember her using it to turn a bunch of Marines into babies.
Didn't she use it on Zoro and then to drag him away from the World Noble?
No, she just tackled him.
Oh, okay. Wait a second, is Bonnie part of Zoro's harem?
No.
No.
They've literally interacted once.
Okay, fair. But, like, it's Zoro. He's already got a harem. It's, like, it wouldn't shock me if more people were added to it as time went on.
Well, until that happens, Bonnie is very much out of it. She's also very much too focused on, Isn't she, like, the heiress to a kingdom?
She's either the heiress or she's the queen dowager. Yeah. We're not very clear on that point.
It's also
She's either Kuma's daughter. You know what's funny? She's either Kuma's daughter or his mother. And we don't know which. And that's kind of hilarious to me.
So, potential drawback. Is the... because Bonnie is a prestigious eater.
I don't know that that's necessarily a cost of the fruit, or rather, we can probably consider it a generalized cost of the world, because in the world of One Piece, there's a lot of big eaters, and these big eaters tend to just be stronger and faster than the rest of the normal people, and also, like, eat food to heal. Like, Luffy is not alone in this. Like, there's a lot of people like Luffy who can just, like, are so jacked that they can eat food and heal from near death.
Yeah. But we're getting lost in the weeds here, and we are supposed to be talking about devil fruit specifically.
Well, I was trying to bring it up as a potential, weak point, because if she needs to have a lot of, energy to use her fruit to a significant degree, then, that is a drawback.
Yeah, but we don't know enough about the fruit to really say if
we don't know if the energy is for the fruit or for herself. Because remember, Luffy doesn't necessarily need a lot of food and energy for the fruit. He just needs to eat a lot because he's hella jacked.
Yeah.
Boy, is he in Wano.
Yep. We know how you feel about that, Mel. We know what you're about.
So where is Bonnie going?
Do. I say A tier, because the ability to manipulate a person's age is fucking ridiculous. Especially since she has demonstrated being able to reduce people to either old cripples or tiny babies.
Theoretically, she could just, like... She has weaponized the ability to kill baby Hitler.
I would say is
it pretty strong.
It doesn't seem to provide much in terms of defense.
No.
Well, it depends on how fast she can age things. Also, we don't know if it's limited to people.
She can also...
No. There's a drawback.
She can dodge by de-aging herself. She can dodge by de-aging herself.
There is a drawback, however. So far as we can tell, or a limitation rather, as far as we can tell, it only works on people. Because her clothes don't change.
Yes. That's not a very super crazy drawback, though, to be fair.
No, but if you extend that further, it means it doesn't work on any objects.
And it could be a drawback, Jack, because imagine if she does de-age herself to get out of the way of the blow, and then her clothes slip off. And then she ages back up, and suddenly she's not just part naked in front of, enemies, but also, the neckline of her clothes are restricting her fucking legs together.
No, but do you know what's funny? That's actually why she wears such skimpy clothing.
Yeah.
Which is, like, it's a Kojima-ass excuse, but honestly, like...
It's better than most Kojima excuses, to be fair.
It's better than most simply because, like, at least Oda knows what he's about.
Yes. Yeah, I'd say either low A or high B.
I would put it in B tier. I don't think it's is good enough for, like, full-on A tier.
I don't think we know enough about it to justifiably put it in A tier.
Okay. How about we put it between Bon Clay and Baby 5?
Seems good for now. We can always shuffle it around later.
Yeah, because I think if we had a better idea of the capabilities and the drawbacks, we could justify putting it in A. But we just don't know enough about it.
True. I think it's one of only 2 Supernova Double Fruits that we don't know the name of. Because the other one is Rouge's fruit. A lot of people didn't even realize he had a Devil Fruit.
Is his Devil Fruit being pious?
I think Mill was one of those people who didn't realize he had a Devil Fruit.
No, I'm fairly sure I knew vaguely. It's just I never think about a Rouge. Because he's one of the few supernovas who doesn't have any relevance most of the time.
He's definitely, knowing Oda, he's definitely going to be super relevant later on. Especially because he's a Sky Islander. And they've been getting increasingly, to the point that I wouldn't be surprised if we did eventually have to go to the moon. And Eru became relevant again.
So we cannot get lost in the weeds too much on this
one. So just before we do, just for my own peace of mind, is a Rouge's fruit something to do with getting stronger based on some condition?
Yes. I believe so.
Damage taken.
Is it damage taken? Okay, because I do remember that.
He gets physically larger.
Yes, because I do remember in that scene where all the supernovas are taking on Bullet in Stampede, him getting physically larger.
Yes,
that is the only time we've actually seen him fucking do anything, though.
Yeah, he gets bigger and stronger as he takes damage.
Okay, Kizaru. Light. This is pretty good.
It's like S tier easily.
Yeah. We're going above or below blue now.
On the basis of the fact that he can travel at the speed of light, on that basis alone, he is just impossibly busted. Like
literally, the only drawback to his devil fruit is that he can travel only in a straight line, and he can mitigate that by bouncing off reflections. He is
that's one of those drawbacks that's hardly a drawback at all.
Yeah.
What size do the reflections need to be? They need to be Kizaru size.
Theoretically, they don't have to be like a size.
So
at all.
Let me remember how sight works. Is there any reflections happening in the actual eye?
Yes, there
are.
So
theoretically, he could bounce off somebody's eye.
Yes, like Jay Giles.
Kizaru's just fucking busted. He's the high.
Kizaru's a stand user. Kizaru is literally the man's is just a stand user.
Yeah.
Kizaru easy S tier.
I don't recognize he's filler.
I was gonna say, who's this fucking what's his fucking name? Bad guy from Aladdin.
Jafar. Who's this Jafar-looking motherfucker?
Who's this Jafar-looking motherfucker? Yeah.
Wasn't he one of like the advisors of someone or like?
Probably.
Okay, like let's be real. He's a royal vizier somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Brook, soul fruit.
So Brook is an interesting case of he's probably the one with the steepest learning curve so far.
The soul fruit is kind of interesting because not only does it have a steep learning curve, it also has a very harsh activation requirement.
I was going to say,
have to die.
Does it work before you die?
No,
that's the thing. I don't think it does. As far as we can tell, I think Brook would probably have figured it out if it did.
Are we sure?
Yeah.
Because, like, he had that fruit for, 50 years and only figured it out after the 2 years. To be fair, he wasn't necessarily trying to figure it out.
Right? By all indications, he was plenty strong.
Yeah.
Already.
So what are we saying then for Brook? Because it's got good offensive capabilities. It doesn't necessarily have decent defensive, but it also has decent mobility and utility.
It has offensive capabilities, mobility, utility. It's kind of like a complete package.
I'd say the biggest thing holding it back is the learning curve, and some of the benefits are specifically because of Brook's skeletal body.
Yes, though, let's just imagine he didn't have the skeletal body. Even if he didn't have the skeletal body, he would still have astral projection. He would still have
Ice of Hell.
Yes, he would still have literally the power over souls. We don't know the full limits of that, but we have to assume that he can have some effect on living people as well.
So, and here's the point. We are saying that assume that the user doesn't have Brook's skeleton body. They live long enough. Eventually, they will have the skeleton body once they activate.
No, because that's assuming they turn into a zombie as opposed to just someone who is literally immortal. Right? Theoretically, it could just make your body last forever.
Yeah. Anyway,
that's not out of the bounds of possibility for One Piece. But yes,
I still think this is an A tier ability.
This is, I would say, high A tier. I don't think it's quite as busted as some of the truly broken S tier abilities, but if it's definitely high A tier at minimum.
I'd say just below Blackbeard.
Sorry, this is completely unrelated to this, but Liverpool have just lost the Football Champions League final, which I find incredibly amusing.
Oh no, what a tragedy.
It is. It's absolutely hilarious if you're in the know.
Yeah, but I'd say Brook goes just below Blackbeard's fruit.
Yeah, I think probably it would have to be on a case-by-case basis, but I think on average it probably averages lower than Blackbeard's.
Next up is Brulee, who the Mirror fruit is actually really strong.
So the Mirror fruit is kind of a lesser version of the Door fruit in some ways, but like it does introduce the concept of the mirror world.
I don't think it's really an upgrade or downgrade thing. They're very different in terms of their abilities. So the Mirror fruit has the whole mirror world thing, but also has the ability to reproduce copies of a person and also turn herself into another person, complete with at least a version of their abilities. Because she turned into a mirror version of Luffy at one point and literally went blow for blow with him. Yeah, she was stretchy.
Now that I had forgotten that detail, that's very interesting.
It's an A-tier ability, in my opinion.
It's absolutely an A-tier ability. I think this is an easy A-tier. I think the only thing preventing me from comfortably putting it in S-tier is that we don't know enough about its limits.
Doesn't really seem to have a lot of hard limits, but at the same time, it's not like a super...
Here's the thing. The limit is the person using it.
Yeah,
probably.
Because Brulee got taken out super fucking easy.
Yeah,
once they got caught.
Yeah,
but the mirror world is very interesting because it kind of opens up a lot of questions about the metaphysics of the One Piece universe that I don't think we're ready to explore. But also, could you not just toss someone in the mirror world and then just let them starve to death?
Yeah, theoretically, yes.
Because because I remember some people went into the mirror world. Did they need Brulee's help to exit the mirror?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, you need Brulee.
Okay. So theoretically, you could just kill people by throwing them into the mirror world. And so this is also a stand ability.
Yes.
This is literally one of the first enemy stand users in Part 5.
Yep. Anyways, I'd say A tier. High A tier.
Yes. High A tier, only limited because we don't have enough information.
I'd say we got a pretty thorough showcase. I'd say below Blackbeard, it's really hard to trump a Logia, if I'm being honest. A lot of Logias are going to end up in A and S tier.
Not necessarily, because we do have to consider hockey. So, remember that we have to consider the fruit sort of on its own merits and not relative to the user or the strength of their hockey.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Well, for example, let's take Kizaru's fruit as an example. Let's say you give Kizaru's fruit to someone who doesn't know armament.
I mean,
then it's not as good.
Impossible to hit him.
Well, not necessarily, because remember that observation, future sight. So theoretically, someone with Kizaru's fruit, a sufficiently skilled opponent could just predict their trajectory and then smack them to death if they didn't have sufficient knowledge of hockey.
I suppose.
So I think in a vacuum, not every Logia is going to be as good as Kizaru's.
I think there are
I'm not
three
saying
Logias.
Kizaru's is bad. I think Kizaru's is definitely top tier even among Logias. But what I'm saying is that
three other Logia that are definitely going to go in S tier.
But that's still not all of them. But yes, you get what I mean. I think though, right?
Yeah, I'm not saying all of them go in S tier, but all of them are going to be pretty high tier overall.
So,
absolutely, yes.
So we're sticking with Brulee between Blackbeard and Brook.
Yeah, that's
I would say so. Yes.
Buffalo, spin fruit.
God, he's canon.
Flight, so that's a positive.
He's canon.
Yeah.
He's the dude who flew Baby 5 in to Punk Hazard.
Yeah, remember?
No.
It's perfectly understandable that you don't remember who he is. I don't think Doffield remembers who he is.
Didn't he die
he just kind of
immediately?
gets murked by Kairos during the climax of Dressrosa too.
I mean, he makes it to the climax of Dressrosa?
Yeah.
I thought he died when he was taking Baby 5 to fuck acid, if I didn't remember him.
No, but he might have done when Cairo snapped his neck.
That's probably a case, yeah.
It's One Piece.
True.
The only people who have died canonically on screen, are the only villains who have died canonically on screen are somehow Monet and Virgo. I don't know what Oda has.
Come on, we gotta focus.
Okay, yes. It's low tier. This is a low tier fruit, without question.
The C tier. I will say that the ability to fly is good, but beyond that, it doesn't have a lot to recommend it. It literally just lets him spin.
But then he can spin to win.
This is one of those fruits that is purely dependent on the user to a degree that is like terrifying.
Yeah.
Because like I'm sure that if you gave this fruit to someone like Luffy, it would make the world go crazy. But what's his face is not Luffy.
I mean, what I'm hearing is it's honestly less of a C and more of a D.
I mean, I'd say the flight.
I would say this would be our first D tier fruit. I honestly would call this the first D tier fruit.
Flight is good, my dude, but you know, if he can just be one-shotted out of the air, it's not that good.
True. Frankie did kind of one-shot him.
Frankie fought him?
Is basically it's a fruit that is like entirely dependent on the competence of the user.
Buggy.
Oh god. Okay. This is going to be the one. I would call this an S tier fruit for one reason and one reason only.
Because it makes you immune to slashing damage?
No, not that. It's that even Haki wasn't able to do something to him.
So that's more on Buggy than it is on the fruits.
No, for comedic purposes, yes, but like, let's be real. If we ignore the memes, my man's is just like a dude.
Okay, so please explain to me why this is S tier. I genuinely want to know. I still think it's a very good fruit, but I want to know why.
You could chop yourself into dust and then reform inside someone.
I don't know about that. We haven't seen Buggy be able to reduce himself into higher than a set number of pieces.
There's like I believe there's canonically no limit to how small the pieces can be.
Oh shit, really?
Yes, there was an SPS, I believe.
Okay, that does plump it up quite a bit.
There's no limit to how small the pieces could be, and not only is there no limit to the size of the pieces, he's the only one. So, just for context, Mihawk, canonically, his sword is, like, always imbued with Haki.
Mm-hmm.
He said as much to Zoro.
Yeah.
Even him cutting Buggy didn't actually cause Buggy any damage. He can easily turn himself into small enough pieces that the force of any blunt force trauma is completely negated, and slashing damage is also completely negated. Literally, his only weakness would be energy-based damage, and even that can be dodged.
His other weakness is offense. He doesn't have any offense ability, really.
Well, no, like I said, he can basically turn himself into tiny pieces and then reform inside someone.
That's very theoretical.
Yes, but so is the Dordo fruit having infinite power.
Fair enough.
I would call this an easy S tier simply because, like, just you can literally take this fruit and just decimate anyone on the same level. Like, it's basically one of those powers that is invincible amongst fighters of the same level. The reason we see Buggy survive so many confrontations that he shouldn't is because of plot armor. No, well, yes, but also the reason he doesn't win is because he's Buggy. The reason he survives is plot armor, but the reason he doesn't win outright with this fruit is because he's Buggy.
Okay, so we've discussed offensive, we've discussed defensive. What about
mobility?
Mobility and
he can fly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he can't
mobility, utility.
Well, no, but he can carry his own feet.
True.
So he can technically fly. And remember, he's got quite a wide range that his limbs can function over.
True. He also have a lot of range. Range is important, so keep in mind. I don't know. I think S tier is reasonable at this point.
Yeah, I think anything less than S tier is doing the fruit a disservice. I think you can make an argument that maybe the person, it's dependent on the person, but just the raw, even if you gave it to someone with average stats and just average knowledge, just the raw, all-rounded benefits of this fruit, it's like, this is a fruit that is on the level of the gum fruit.
So when he was separated into basically two big pieces at the end of his arc, obviously he had the main part with his head. Was he still able to control the other part?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, then S tier.
No, are you talking about Orangetown?
Yeah, after Orangetown, when Luffy launches his what is it, head, hands, and feet, leaving the rest of him behind.
The rest of him becomes non-responsive after a certain point.
But yes, it's not infinite range.
He's able to use them again.
But according to an SBS, it's very high. Like the range is very long. Like Oda gave one of those semi-serious joke answers in which he compared two things. So apparently the range based on the SBS is similar to the gum fruit.
Right.
I would
so even if we
say it is above Bartlomeo. Yeah. Yeah. That looks good.
Putting this in the S tier is one of those hills that I am willing to die on, because I believe that this is one of the stronger fruits in the entire series.
Fair enough.
Bullet goes into the filler tier. That one's canon. Tanuki fruit's canon.
Who?
The Tanuki fruits, which belongs to Thomas Teapot.
Is he a joke character?
He is canon to the manga.
That's not answering my question. Is he one of those joke characters that fucking Oda puts in the background and then talks about in an SBS?
Perhaps.
Can you open up his wiki page?
Yes.
What does it say on his wiki page? Like, did he do anything in the series? I
believe so.
I think the baseline should be they have to have done something in the series at some point.
Boombuku, aka the Teapot.
Oh no, he's isn't he the swordsmith's teapot?
Yep.
Right. Okay, no. I think he counts. He counts.
I'd still say F tier because the Tanuki isn't really all that good.
Well, it depends. Is it a regular zone or a mythical zone? Because if it's a regular zone, then it's like just generic. But if it's like, if he has the powers of a mythical Tanuki, if he has the powers of an actual raccoon dog,
fuzzy.
Mm-hmm.
It's a vanilla zone.
Okay, then it's like F tier. Well, okay, you know what? Just put it in D tier, because I think most zones do give you at least something of a physical buff.
This one can't be canon.
No, I don't recognize it.
Caesar.
So I'm gonna put out a radical opinion here. Caesar's devil fruit is an S tier.
Caesar's devil fruit is one of the strongest in the series. It's one of the only devil fruit that is general and not specific in its element. It's actually, off the top of my head, it is literally the only Logia that is not a specific element, but rather a collection of things.
Yeah, if it was a specific gas, it'd be a lot more nerfed, but it is just like gas in general.
Any gas. And that is absurd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just so broken. Again, Caesar is like just slightly stronger Buggy.
Yeah. He knocked out Luffy, Robin, and Zoro and Smoker with the fruits, which is insane. And he did it by literally taking the oxygen out of the air.
So we're an S tier.
I'd say right below Kizaru.
Honestly, I think that in practical day-to-day use, by practical day-to-day, I mean like in a vacuum, I would say this is stronger against human opponents. Basically, any non-machine opponents, it's stronger.
I think even against machine opponents, it could be considered strong.
There's plenty of corrosive gases, yes.
Plenty of corrosive gas, plenty of gases that could just cause you to fucking rust.
And also, remember that this is one of those cases. Theoretically, he could just turn into hydrogen and then compress that hydrogen to the point of fusion.
He's also done something similar where he turned himself into flammable gas and set it off.
Yes, so he can obviously control and recover from the effects of manipulating the gases in that way. So theoretically, in the hands of a skilled user, this is terrifying. So I would put it above Kizaru for the sole reason. Actually, this could also counter Kizaru in many ways. Because
changing gas.
Yes, because gases can reflect and diffuse light.
Yep.
So theoretically, in a confrontation between two equally skilled users with average physical stats, like two median users, I think there's a good chance for the gas fruit to come on top.
Anyways, it's a good fruit.
This is absolutely one of the higher tier fruits in the series.
On the other end of the Logia spectrum, we got Karibo.
Oh no.
AKA Mr. Resting Right Face.
God, I really hate him as a character.
Yeah, what happened to him?
He's one of the only characters who I wish just outright didn't exist.
What happened to him? He was in the prison at Wano, wasn't he?
Yeah. Still on Wano.
So he had this entire he had his own cover story arc, which he did not deserve, in which he, I guess, had a change of heart to some extent, because he got adopted by a granny who, because he looks identical to a certain revolutionary leader.
Yep. We don't need to go into this in detail. What we do need
okay. So the Swamp Storm fruit. And an interesting thing to note is that the space is infinite.
Yes.
Inside the swamp. And it can keep people alive. I don't know how. Here's my question. Did the mermaids that he kept inside the swamp stay alive because they can breathe underwater?
We don't know. It's not explained.
Because, he did also suffocate... He has also suffocated people with the swamp.
Yeah, I think what the deal is that if you can breathe underwater, you're fine. But I could be entirely wrong. We don't have enough of an explanation about that particular part of his devil fruit. What we do know is that he has basically infinite storage space, and he is very hard to damage if you don't have hockey. But beyond that, he is very powerful.
And I think this is one of those fruit that is like... you know what's probably the most comparable to this fruit is crocodile. I think this is one of those fruits that... I think it's interesting. This is one of the few physical state Logias.
Or
not few, but I think we do have to make a distinction between the energy state or the or the fluid state Logias. Actually, so far there's been all three. There's been there's been one
and energy. Solid, liquid, gas, and energy. The 4 states of matter.
Yeah,
but we're getting lost in the weeds here, and we need to kind of focus.
Okay. On an absolute level, I think it's not as good as other Logias.
I'd say this is our weakest Logia, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's lower tier than...
It's good utility, but other than that, it doesn't have a lot to offer compared to other Logias.
I would say bottom of A tier or top of B tier.
I'd say high B, yeah. I put it below. I put it below Bonnie, honestly, because Bonnie's fruit has quite a bit of potential kick to it, and we don't know of any serious drawbacks. Karibo's fruit doesn't really have any offensive power to it whatsoever.
Yeah, I can honestly agree with that assessment, Mill.
All right, yeah.
Chaka. The jackal fruit.
Generic zone. Yes, generic zone. I think there should be a generic zone tier, especially since he's such an early character.
I'd say a C tier, yeah.
Yeah,
there's
I think
like super C tier, yeah, C tier.
Yeah, it's like the zones are generally C tier as hell.
What makes it?
I'd say.
What makes it not a D tier?
Because it enhances physical abilities still.
All the zones, all the generic zones in the early series are basically, they give you...
We said the same thing about Tanuki Boy, though.
Yeah, but
Tanuki Boy should have a giant-ass weak spot in the form of giant testicles.
That's fair, but that puts the Tanuki to the bottom of D. I don't see that taking it from C to D.
So, Chaka also has the advantages of having claws.
No,
and
Tanukis have claws.
Being fairly mobile.
So, okay, look at the actual animal, right? A raccoon dog. Those are a real animal, and they're, like, just kind of pathetic.
They're weak as fuck.
Yeah, right? Like, I think... So, let's put it like this. I think we can set the ground rule that for generic zones, weaker animals, like, for example, the Dachshund.
Oh, Dachshund is going to go low.
Fine, right? But it's going to be low C.
Yeah, low C is fine.
So, yeah, a Dachshund is definitely not as strong as a jackal or an eagle. And then there's the larger, for example, an elephant would be, I would say, in B tier.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we couldn't put the stronger animals in low B tier, the the regular carnivores, like predators and general animals, like in C tier, and then we can put the little like pets and smaller animals in D tier.
Mm.
Does that sound good?
Yep. Also, something. But yeah, let's move on to. Oh, that's filler character. Let's skip it. Chopper.
Human fruit.
So the thing with the human fruit is that it basically has its best possible user in Chopper.
So, yes and no, because there's a strong implication that humans with human fruits are kind of busted.
So, no. Yes, but no. Or if you're talking about mythical human fruits like Sengoku's, then yes.
No.
But no,
so canonically...
No. Fuzzy, listen to me. It was a joke answer. Oh, they gave a joke answer because he didn't know how else to answer the question. He was not saying that you gain enlightenment by eating a human fruit as a human. You just become more human. And he just was like, I guess you just become more human, and that's it.
There's some, like, I don't know, there's some wiggle room with the interpretations of that.
I don't think it's a particularly good fruit if you're a human. It's much better if you're an animal, because it literally grants you sapience. It grants you
Even if
sapience.
it gives you just a basic intelligence buff, it's still pretty good, right? Like, I think I would say it would probably give you an all stats buff, right?
So
if you're human,
my thought is that it is optimal for a non-human to eat this fruit. That is the optimal. The optimal human fruit user is a non-human.
I'd still put it in like solidly in B tier.
Low B, I'd say. Because it still does grant sapience to animals, which is nothing to sneeze at.
Oh, definitely.
So I'd say B tier.
Where in B tier then?
Bottom of B tier, I think.
Below the hornet fruit?
No, let's put it above a poo. Okay, cracker. Oh, geez, we're only on C. We need to speed this up.
Okay, biscuits.
Behind a mat.
Yeah, it's like, I think Cracker has the advantage of strong genes, and that's why. He can make an army, but that army is not very strong.
I think the advantage is Cracker just has the knowledge necessary to exploit the fruit's abilities to their fullest. Beyond that,
yeah, I think it's C tier. C for Cracker.
Yeah, I'd say high C though, because the crackers are the biscuits are pretty tough. It's just they're vulnerable to the weakness of all food-based fruits.
Mm-hmm.
They can be eaten.
And considering the fact that One Piece is kind of like a world of big eaters,
yeah,
is not great.
But Croco Boy. So Crocodile has a really busted fruit, but he also has a really glaring weakness.
Yeah, he's one of the few Logias that has an extremely obvious weakness.
Yeah.
And he also has the kind of the disadvantage of having a solid state fruit.
Yeah. I'd still say it's an A tier fruit. It's just weak by just has a really bad weakness by Logia standards. I'd still say it's an A tier.
I would agree, yeah. Now, here's the question. Do we rank it above or below Blackbeard's?
I'd say below Blackbeard's, because Crocodile's weakness is a lot more glaring.
That's true, but at the same time, it does have the ability to disperse physical attacks when not involved in that weakness.
True. Not to mention, like, under certain conditions, he is really busted, like environmental advantages.
Also, I'm pretty sure he's awakened, so I think he can just make an environmental.
Yeah.
No, because like
he's about double fruits, not users.
Well, yes, but no, we do have to talk about the awakening.
Yeah, I mean,
the
awakening is not part of the user; it's a part of the fruit.
True.
Yeah, I'm actually curious about what an awakened. What's it called?
Awakened Logia.
No, an awakened human fruit looks like, but that's besides the point.
Yes. All right. Next up.
So above Blackbeard.
Above Blackbeard. We have a pretty good idea what Crocodile's Awakening is, and it's the root Sandstorm, basically.
Yeah, no. The reason I say he's already awakened is because he demonstrated the ability to just turn things into sand, and I'm pretty sure that's not something normal Logias can do. I'm pretty sure that's what an awakened Logia does.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like, theoretically, a non-awakened Logia should not be able to turn an entire city into sand.
Mm-hmm. No, it's a fair point.
Anyways, Daifuku. His fruit is kind of shitty.
Which one was he?
Is he the genie fruit? Is he the one with the stand?
Fruit. Yeah, he has the really shitty.
Well, is the fruit bad?
He has to rub his tummy constantly to actually use his fruit. That's like a ridiculous drawback.
Yeah, it kind of is. Where would you put it then? High C or low B?
C. It's not a B tier fruit. Like, the genie has limited range and it has ridiculous activation requirements.
What can the genie do?
Is it?
The genie, it's only combat focused. It is only a combat fruit.
Well, no.
Doesn't have any
my
utility.
Question. Is the genie the same type of stand as the world?
No.
You mean world though?
Zawardo.
It is not. It is very much not.
Something Star Platinum is the same type of stand as the world. Okay, in that case, yes, high C.
I'd put it below Cracker.
It has a use.
Highest. Yeah. It's just not a particularly good.
Captain Dog.
Dalmatian, yes. Dalmatian Zoan. C tier.
It's actually Dalmatians
are big dogs.
They're big dogs, but they're still dogs.
Yes. So below Chocolate.
Yes, because I would say, okay, domesticated animals, we can put them in C tier, I think. Yeah. So all the dog fruits we'd put in C tier.
Dalton, bisons are strong.
I would say bison is just purely on... I think the zones are where we make up time, honestly. Yeah. But yes, the reason I think bisons are low B tier or high C.
I think.
What do you think?
Let's go with low B. Let's go.
I say high C.
Okay, above Cracker then, because he doesn't have an obvious weakness like his fruit being eaten by someone else.
So, let me give you an example of what I think would be qualified B tier fruits, because they're this one I can give because it's not used by a character. Elephant would be a B tier fruit. As far as vanilla, huh?
Funkfried has the elephant zone.
No, but he's not a character. That's what I meant. He's just a sword who doesn't have. Yes.
Speaking of swords,
Das Bones.
A+.
Now this is a more interesting one because he is more of an all-rounder than you'd think.
Yes.
At least he doesn't have much. He doesn't really have much in the way of mobility, but his fruit does cover both offense and defense.
It does.
Yes.
To quite
it is, however, a downgrade from Baby Fi's fruit overall.
It is, however, very specialized.
Yeah, I would say this is low B. Probably above a poo.
So knowing what we know now, was it just general hockey that allowed Zoro to cut him, or was it Conqueror's hockey?
It was absolutely hockey, 100%.
Yes, we know it was hockey, but what type of hockey?
Armament. It was armament.
Was it just armament?
It was 100%. Yeah, it was Ryuwo.
It was just armament, yeah.
It was the exact description of Ryuwo.
Right.
So yeah. No, Das Bones, I'd say low B, above a poo.
That said, I don't think he was using hockey at the time. And considering the fact that he's one of Crocodile's oldest acquaintances, I'm pretty sure there's a non-zero chance that he has hockey.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Next up, though, is Katarina Devon. And she is the first mythical zone, I think, that we have.
Who the fuck is she?
She has the Kitsune fruit, doesn't she?
Yep. She's one of Blackbeard's crew. Yeah, Nine-Tailed Fox.
So can do whatever Kitsune can do.
Yeah, the only ability we've seen besides the standard zone stuff is shapeshifting.
Yeah.
But that automatically puts her above Bon Clay because she has both mythical zone strength and shapeshifting.
Am I gonna have to get out?
Remember, I would put her in S tier probably. I think mythical zones, it's going to be harder to go below A tier at minimum.
Mythical zones are ridiculous.
Yeah, I think A is the minimum tier for mythical zone.
So you think S tier?
I would say, as far as if you combine the fact that the sheer physical stats that the average mythical zone has with the shapeshifting, I would say S tier is not out of the question.
Yeah, that's true. We're gonna get some more ridiculous mythical zones, though. So I'd say put this in high A tier.
So just
higher is acceptable.
So just to go into it, assuming that she is able to use any abilities Kitsune can. Supernatural abilities commonly attributed to Kitsune include possession, generating fire or lightning, willful manifestation in the dreams of others, flight, invisibility, and the creation of illusions so elaborate as to be almost indistinguishable from reality.
Yeah, that's busted.
So,
I would say I'm just going to give her all of that, but
I would say he's probably going to give her either. He's going to give her either illusions or elements, because he did give Yamato elemental powers, and Yamato is the closest analog we have to a Kitsune.
Yeah, so I'd say A tier, just below Blackbeard.
Yes, at the minimum, and it depends on what we see. But like, just the name, the Kitsune alone is just a famous enough creature that it is very much not surprising whatever powers it gets.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on to Diamante's flag fruit.
What can
this one's
do?
Okay.
What does he do?
Yeah, it's like it's meh.
What does he
actually
turn
things into? It can make things. It can make hard things flappy.
Yes.
And back.
Yes.
Good for a sex therapist.
Utility. It does have some utility. Like he can fold up a bunch of heavy stuff into like little folded paper and then toss them out.
Yeah, he can reduce weight.
Yeah.
Like he has limited mass manipulation capabilities.
It's not particularly powerful, though.
It's not real. It's really not. But like, it's. I would say on the basis of the mass manipulation alone, it's probably like high C tier. I wouldn't say it's D tier, but I can't accept anything like higher than C.
I'd say put it between Daifuku and Flamenco.
That seems acceptable to me, yeah.
Oh, Doflamingo's next. Oh boy.
Okay. I think Doffy's fruit.
So where are we putting Diamante? Sorry, my fucking headphones died.
Oh no.
Put him between Daifuku and Flamenco. In C tier, yeah. Doflamingo. I'd say it's an A tier.
It's definitely one of those fruits that is, even in the absence of a skilled user, is not bad.
Yeah. In the hands of a skilled user, though, it's fucking busted.
It's as Doffy can attest.
Yeah. Plus, its awakening is also kind of insane. So I'd say put it.
I think any awakening is kind of insane, honestly.
Mm-hmm. I'd say put an A tier right below Devon for now. Devon is kind of tricky.
I would not put it that high in A tier. I think there's going to be a lot of other fruits that, in terms of raw potential, are better.
Okay, so what? Below Brook, then?
Yes, I would say it's below Brook in terms of overall usability.
Okay. Next up is Drake, our first Ancient Zoan.
I think Ancient Zoans by default kind of land in A tier because they're just just the raw physical stats you get.
He turns into a dinosaur. That's pretty good.
I think we can develop a... Huh?
He turns into a dinosaur. That's pretty good.
Yeah, A tier.
I think we can develop this hierarchy for Zoans. Critters, and you know what I mean when I say critters. Critters are basically D tier. Domesticated animals are C tier. Wild animals are domesticated animals are low C tier. Wild animals,
domesticated animals and prey animals.
And prey animals, yes. Well, no, some prey animals like bison are pretty.
We don't need to go into super detail about this. Let's just focus.
Yes.
We were like an hour and a half in, and we were like less than a third of the way through this.
I'm going to say now we're probably going to have to come back to this.
Probably, yes.
We are taking way too long in individual entries. Let's go. Come on.
Okay, just Ancient Zone, A tier. A for Ancient.
A tier, below Beijing.
Yes.
Low A tier. Drawfee, Momo fruits. Digging is pretty useful, but otherwise it's pretty weak as a double fruit.
Yeah.
D tier.
Yeah.
You say C?
D.
D. High D, low D, mid D.
High D. Filler character. Eneru, S tier.
S tier though has a weakness. It's not necessarily like glaring weakness.
Common weakness. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh no! It doesn't work. Work on anyone who's made of rubber. When is that gonna come up?
How did that happen?
Yo ho ho! You took a bite of
that poor fucking bastard. You would have beaten pretty much anybody else in the world except that one fucking dude who's made of rubber.
Yeah.
It is kind of like, to be fair, it's karma.
Yeah.
Yes. And plus, Luffy is God's natural enemy. In more ways than one.
So where in S does Eneru go?
I still think it's lower than Kizaru.
No,
it's
I
only
disagree.
one step lower.
I disagree. I think the thing is, Eneru has none of Kizaru's drawback of being limited with directional travel.
But all of his other stats are lower.
Well, he destroyed an island. He destroyed a fucking island.
Kizaru.
Yeah, but he doesn't have any of Kizaru's weaknesses. Plus, combine it with observation hockey, and you get basically omniscience.
Well, yeah, but are we counting those?
I mean, it has really good conjunction with hockey, so at least it's notable enough to count as a point in its favor.
I suppose, though, again, I don't know. Well, okay, yes. Actually, the mind reading, I completely forgot that it has the electrical impulse reading aspect. Okay. With that, I would put it a notch above Kizaru, yes.
I'd say top of S tier. It is honestly the most busted ability, besides maybe Kizaru and Caesar, that we've seen amongst the Logias. There.
Yeah, I can agree that then, yeah. I think, okay, yeah, I was biased because, first off, Eneru's a dumbass.
Early character, yes.
Eneru's not necessarily a dumbass. He would have won if Luffy wasn't there. His only issue is the lack of ambition.
Yeah.
Not only that, Oda has gone on record saying that while he's strong, he's not strong to the point that he would be that much of a big shot in if he came down to the sea.
Yeah. Anyway,
remember his bounty would only be around 500 million.
Anyways.
Yes. Yeah.
Next one is a Zoan on part of Apoida, that's the name. He is one of Whitebeard's commanders.
Caterpillar, D tier.
Yeah.
It's a caterpillar. In terms of raw ability, it's a caterpillar. What's it gonna do?
Yeah.
Turn into a beautiful butterfly that nobody will suspect.
I think there's actually a non-zero chance of that, considering Baron Tamago's fruit.
Yeah. But we don't know enough about it to say anything else besides
that.
Filler character. We can dump him in filler. Foxy! Dump him in filler. I'm just kidding.
Foxy's got the fucking slow fruit is really good.
It is. He's another. There's another dumbass. Okay, I think we're starting to realize that there's just a lot of people like in this series who are just.
Oda gave the most busted fruits to the dumbest of people.
I think I understand where he's coming from as a writer. If he gave them to competent people, the story would break.
This is the exact reason why you get stuff like Okuyasu getting one of the most busted stands in the series.
Sometimes you want to write a Kyo Power, but it would break the series if it was used properly, so you kind of just have to give it to the dumbasses.
Yeah, exactly. exactly. That's what
Because if you don't give it to the dumbasses, then like it makes the series less interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, no, Foxy, A tier fruit because
it's an A tier fruit on a D tier villain.
Yeah, basically. We put Foxy as the second lowest villain on our list.
I was gonna ask what did we put Foxy as?
Bottom of D tier, if I remember correctly. The only one we put low was Absalom. We were going to put Vanderdeck in lower, but he wasn't on the available as an option.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, lowest.
Anyways, yeah, no, Foxy, A tier. I'd say below Drake.
He's not A tier, but his fruit is.
Yeah, no, his fruit. I'd say below Drake though, because it doesn't offer any real physical stats. Elephant fruit is a B tier.
Yes, as based on our determination.
It's a very strong Zoan fruit. I'd say put it above Chopper, though.
Yes, but it's not as good as any of the mythical or ancients. It's basically as good as it gets when it comes to just a raw vanilla Zoan fruit, I think.
I'd say it's fair to cap vanilla Zoans at Funkfried.
Yes.
So, Dr. Eggman.
Baron Tamago has a very, very weird but very, very strong fruit.
That's not Tamago, that's a filler character.
Okay, when you said Dr. Eggman, you know, I just assumed.
I know.
Where's
but
Tamago?
You know what they said about assuming?
Is that Tamago?
It makes an ass out of you and Umption?
Is that one Tamago?
That's Tamago, yes.
Cool.
Anyways, Galdino, Mr. 3. Wax fruit. Actually pretty good.
It's very good. We just don't know enough about its limits because, again, he's the user is kind of weak. The wax is not indestructible. It's breakable and it has good insulation qualities, but it's far from indestructible.
Yeah. I'd still say it's a B tier fruit at worst.
I can agree with that.
I'd put it probably below Carabao, though.
That high? Poozie?
Well, yeah, it's a very versatile fruit because it allows for both offense and defense and construction. It has a lot of uses.
Yeah, it's extremely versatile. The only downside is that it doesn't give you any direct physical buffs. Like, you can use it on yourself to like give yourself armor, but in terms of raw capabilities, it doesn't really have much to speak of.
Yeah. This one's the butterfruit for Charlotte Gillette.
I think a lot of the food-based fruits for the Charlotte siblings.
They're going in C tier.
Yeah. I think in terms of raw power, I think the Charlotte pirates are not really strong because of their fruits. They're strong because they have like very good genes by design.
Well, also just very strong fighters who just happen to have mediocre devil fruits. I'd say put her below Biscuit. She doesn't have like ludicrous activation requirements like Daifuku does, but butter is not super powerful. Filler character, and we have another example of a character with a busted-ass fruit who is an absolute idiot.
Which, as we've established, is very common.
He can literally make explosions. He can explode himself and recover. No issue. It's ridiculous.
He's one of the...
Mr. 5.
Mr. 5.
Mr.
Yeah.
5.
I remember that he was one of those guys, so I couldn't remember his fucking number or name.
Yeah, no, Mr. 5. Really busted devil fruit. Total idiot. He flicked his fucking boogers.
To be fair, it's a hilarious way of defeating your opponents due to the sheer quantity and quality of disrespect.
There is also the fact that he was able to use his breath as bullets, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, if he can turn his breath into devil fruits or into explosions, yeah, he's kind of busted. Yeah, this is I think we can put this in like low A tier or high
B. I'd say just above Foxy. This one's raw offense, but it also is a kind of defense that you could just make your body explode on contact with someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Geol is another example of a really good fruit on an idiot.
What fruit is it?
Art fruit. She makes abstract art out of people and things.
Right, this is one of those fruits that we don't actually know the full limitations of.
We do know that it's really hard to defend against. Oh, wait, no. I think the activation requirement is she makes a cloud and throws it at something, and if the cloud lands, then it can turn that thing into abstract art.
Just on the powers alone, I would say it's okay. You know who? This fruit strikes me as a downgraded version of Sugar's fruit.
Kind of is, kind of,
right?
Sort of.
And if that is really the case, then what do we call this?
I'd say an A tier or a B tier, at worst. Sugar's fruit is all kinds of busted. We'll get into that when we get to her.
Yeah.
I'd say, yeah, let's put this in B tier because it is a lot easier to dodge this one. Because it is a slow-moving projectile. I'd say probably below a poo. Like, if you know what's going on, you can avoid it a lot easier than you could avoid a poo's fruit.
Mm. Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that is probably you can defend against it to some extent with hockey, because I know that a lot of fruits that seem to be absolute have, like, you do have some level of resistance if your hockey is stronger than the other guys.
Mm-hmm.
I would say B tier. I would not put it higher than B tier. High B, but still B.
We put it at low B tier because it's
okay. Fairly... Yeah, low B is more appropriate.
Yeah. Next up is Gladius, the guy who makes stuff explode.
I thought we already.
Oh wait, we just had that. Yeah.
Yeah. He's one of those things that it's technically not a straight upgrade, but it's like more or less just an upgrade. Yeah.
So Gladius can make objects explode. Mr. 5 can make himself explode.
Right.
Gladius can also make himself explode.
Well, he can make... No. So... Oh yeah, he can make himself explode.
They can both make other things explode, but they have different properties. His Mr. 5 is explosives. His is more specifically rupturing. So rather than explosions, it's more like he inflates it.
It's a burst.
Yes, inflates it until it bursts.
So it does take a bit more of a wind-up.
Man, that's somebody's
It takes more of a it has a wind-up, but it also has, like, utility.
Yeah. So I'd say probably a pretty solid B tier. No, A tier, maybe.
I would say low A.
A tier, B tier. Would you say above or below Mr. 5?
I think they're about on the same level. I think it's more of a side grade than a straight upgrade or downgrade.
I put him above Mr. 5 because he can also make inorganic stuff explode in a certain radius.
No, Mr. 5 can imbue other, turn other things into explosives as well.
No, Mr. 5 can only blow himself up or parts of his body. It has to
be
part of his body. That's why he can only do his breath and stuff.
He's definitely higher. Yeah. And I didn't realize that. In that case, absolutely, Mr. 5 is lower on the list.
So before we go any further, because we do still have a fuck ton left, and by the count of the description, there are only 13 non-canon fruits in this remaining in this list. Do you want to say we get to 2 hours, which is in 6 minutes, and then we call it a day and we come back to it?
Well, we might also, what's the halfway point? And are we anywhere close to that?
We're still on... We just got onto H.
There's 139. Half that.
Off that, 70.
70. So...
We have 43 so far, canon ones ranked.
Yeah, we have 43.
So let's get another 20 done, and then we'll call it.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable.
All right.
So that next one is filler. So after that is Hancock.
Okay, this is one of my hot takes.
Oh, what's the hot take? I think
that this fruit in a vacuum is not that good.
The fruit does rely a lot on the attractiveness of the user.
Yes, and if we go with medium, like average attractiveness, also you can pain makes the effects go away.
Also, completely ineffectual.
Any sort of distraction.
Completely ineffectual on the ace arrows.
Yeah.
Yes, it's completely ineffective on anyone who's ace. Pain makes, or any sort of distraction makes it go away, and it's also completely ineffective on the blind.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Canonically, for example, Fujitora is not affected by this fruit at all.
Hancock is kind of the perfect user for this fruit.
Yes. She's, like, acknowledged in universe as the most attractive woman on the planet, to the point that she can make even otherwise straight women swing the other way. And also, it's important, well, I mean, as far as we know. It's also very important to note one thing. It does cause petrification on physical contact.
Yeah. You don't have to be attracted to the user to be petrified by the abilities. Because Hancock has petrified inanimate objects and unfeeling cyborgs.
Yes, so it does have apply a physical buff, and that physical buff is quite good. Don't get me wrong, but is it to the level of what's his face?
Don't forget her arrow ability, because she also can use arrows to petrify things.
Yes, to petrify things, not just arrows. So it does have range. So okay, offensively, it is a decently potent fruit, but I don't think it goes higher than B tier.
Yeah, B tier seems fair. It's not a particularly good fruit outside of its petrification abilities, which are still admittedly quite good. They're just a lot more situational. I'd say probably above Bello Betty, or above Bellamy. Above Bellamy.
It's definitely above Bellamy, but I think that's about as far as you could take this.
Right.
Yeah. Hawkins. Voodoo stuff. Fun.
Hawkins is a power. He has one of those paramecia power sets that's basically, it's a paramecia because we have no idea what it does. We're just gonna, like, throw it in the bag. We don't even know if he's taken it to his limits yet, but basically it allows you to turn into a magician.
A voodoo magician, specifically.
A voodoo magician, specifically, yes.
Does that voodoo affect other people? Beyond the, does it affect other people beyond the, straw,
I mean, that alone is enough of an effect, right?
It is, yeah.
Like, do you need anything more if you can just, like, turn people into straw dolls? Or, like, transfer any damage you take onto other people? I mean, in the form of straw dolls? Like, obviously, it's one of those fruits that requires prep time.
Yeah, what's the requirement for that is what I would say. But, I mean, is it a case of, you fully get voodoo powers? Like, you can just get a doll of somebody and stick, say their hair in it, and suddenly what you do to the doll happens to them in real life?
So, how the powers work has not been explained thus far.
I mean, Hawkins hasn't done anything like that.
Well, no. What he's done so...
He somehow managed to make Kid a voodoo target without even touching him, that we saw.
Yes, so it's kind of unclear what exactly the requirements are and how you go about fulfilling them. But I think it's like... What is fairly clear is that he's not able to do it, like, freely in combat, perhaps, but he's definitely able to do it to some extent in combat as well as out of combat. And out of combat, it's just busted. Because he can just, like... he does apparently have a limit to how many he can make, though.
I don't recall what the cap is, but I think it's somewhere around 10.
which does affect things somewhat if he has a cap, but still, having basically 10 extra lives and the potential for, like, taking out 10 enemies at the same time, this is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not all powerful depending on who you take as a potential, scapegoat target, considering,
Yeah.
Killer managed to take out Hawkins without taking out Kid, if I remember.
Yeah, because Hawkins forgot that Kid doesn't have a left arm.
Oh, that's how it happened. Okay, that's fair.
That's a very interesting little thing. If your exact stats are different from or if your exact characteristics are different from your opponent, or from the person you've done it, it's not worthwhile. Also, you have to consider how much damage your opponent can actually take, or not your opponent, but your voodoo doll.
Yeah,
can actually take. And the reason I say that is you could get someone very weak as your voodoo doll.
Yeah,
and if they're weak to the point that they're they don't take much damage at all, then you've wasted your time, essentially.
So where are we saying?
A or B?
Low A is my personal opinion.
Probably below. I'd say below Mr. 5.
I would put him higher than Mr. 5.
Maybe
because he just has the advantage of, like, it gives him basic buffs, and he also has just the advantage of being able to affect other people.
So I'd say below Drake then.
Yes, definitely below Drake.
Drake is just much more roided out. Hina. Hina is an interesting one because her Devil Fruit is very situational. It doesn't have a lot of utility outside of just, like...
Yeah, it's a very much...
restrains people. That's it.
And even then, I'm assuming that there's probably, like, certain hard limits on it, like...
Yeah.
I have to imagine that she can't restrain people stronger than her.
We don't know. We don't know the limits. What we do know is that it's possible to outspeed her and avoid the restraints entirely, though.
Yeah, so, like, it's a strong fruit, but it's just not really, like, strong enough to be worth it, especially against the really strong individuals.
Mm-hmm.
So, where are we putting Hina?
High C, low B. I would say high C.
I see, yeah. Let's put her top with C for now. Also, it looks like our endpoint is going to be Kuma or Kuzan.
That's a hell of an endpoint, huh?
Yeah, let's end with Kuzan. Kuzan's a good endpoint.
Alright.
But yeah, next one's filler character. That's filler character.
Scissor person.
Yes, Inazuma. Inazuma's a B tier, I think.
Inazuma's B tier simply because they have a very
specific ability.
Their ability is very specific, but at the same time, it's kind of interesting in that it sort of
it's a pretty versatile ability, but
it's versatile, but it also seems very dependent on the environment.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because you can't really guarantee that you'll solidly be able to make use of it in any environment. Because it seems heavily dependent on the physical characteristics of whatever you're around.
Mm-hmm.
And that alone makes it kind of have some baseline drawbacks, yeah. So I would say it's B tier, but it wouldn't be in the highest echelons of B tier.
It's a lot more situational than some of the other ones.
It is very much a situational fruit, yeah. And also, it seems to have limited use against other people.
Yeah.
If any at all.
I mean, what I'm hearing is definitely below Daft's Bones.
Yeah, below
Yes, very much so.
But are we putting it... I feel like the Hornet Fruit is kind of high up.
Yeah.
Based on what we've been deciding.
Yeah, I think the Hornet Fruit should be put in C tier. Yeah.
Let's put Hornet right below Daifuku.
I mean, we can do one Let's check over when we finish the list. Make sure, there's nobody we want to change, but yeah, that was just one that jumped out at me.
Yeah. Next up is Isho, aka Fujitora.
He drops fucking medias on people. S tier. S tier.
S tier.
He drops medias on fuckers.
Yeah, no, this is one of the 5 best Paramecias in the series.
My man's can literally theoretically he could make a black hole.
Yeah.
Blackbeard is a darkness with incidental gravity-based properties. Isho is just straight up he has gravity powers.
Yeah.
Honestly, the gravity fruit is one of the 3 strongest Paramecias in the series. The only 2 that I think would be remotely comparable are Law's fruits, and maybe arguably no Kuma's fruit as well. Kuma's fruit is also busted. But yeah, those are the only 2 that I think are really comparable. So Paramecias.
Where in S tier are we putting him?
That's tough. That's very tough. I'd say above Bluno for sure. But whether he beats out any of the Logias up there is harder to say.
Poozie?
I would say he's above Bluno, honestly.
Yeah. That seems a pretty good
place. That's about it. That's probably the best place to put him.
Ivankov.
It's very, very busted. That is just obscene.
It's one of the best utility fruits in the whole series.
Without a doubt, yes.
I'd say it's an A-tier fruit.
I would say if it's not low, it's A tier at the minimum, if not low S tier.
I'd say I'd put it in A tier right below Devon. Because the hormone fruit has a lot of utility to it.
Yeah, I would agree with that, yeah.
Jabra.
It's a generic predator. Yeah, C tier.
I'd say low B, maybe.
Okay, yeah, no, wolves are pretty jacked, yeah. I think it's not unfair.
It's a wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's not unfair to give him a...
Yeah, but somebody with Jabra's fruit versus somebody with Daft Bones' fruit, I know who I'm gonna go for.
Oh yeah, no. I'd put him below Apu, actually.
Yeah, just
Jack. Oh hi, I'm on this.
Wait, which Jack?
Jack the Jobber.
AKA Jack the Drought.
I take Papa P.
Yeah, I think
Off of B, because
basically he's a straight upgrade on the elephant fruit.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
He's like one level higher than elephant.
Yeah, I don't think it's good to put him in A tier though, because he's kind of a step down from all the other ancient Zoans for someone of his power level. You know?
Mammoth versus dinosaur. What would you go for, I suppose?
Dinosaur. It's not even a question.
Yeah. Yeah, the dinosaur probably wins.
Public agrees. They care more about dinosaurs than they do about mammoths. That one, film series aside.
Ice Age. I'd still say top of B tier though.
Yes, I would say I would say this is probably the peak of what the purely physical B tier fruits look like.
Yeah, because it's still a huge ass upgrade in terms of raw power.
Give me this.
Juzo. Diamond fruit.
As far as like physical paramecias go, diamonds are pretty busted.
Yeah.
The diamonds are brittle though, and Juzo cannot move when he is in diamond form.
He straight up can't move at all?
He cannot move his diamond parts. That's why he has to partially diamond himself up and then charge.
Oh, I actually wasn't aware of that. That changes things. I would say that bumps it down from A tier to like low B tier.
Yeah.
Like I would say the lack of mobility makes it lose an entire tier.
Lack of mobility cripples it a lot. If he was mobile in his diamond form, that'd be one thing, but he is not. Like, that's why he partially diamonds himself up when he charges rather than just going full diamond. Cannot move his diamond parts. Well, it's still a good fruit, and I would put it above Daw's Bones only because of the durability advantage.
I would say, honestly, as far as diamonds go, he's still, like, the fruit is great, but do we know whether or not it gives you an increased likelihood of committing war crimes? Because we do know diamonds have a tendency to do that.
It's just normal diamonds, not blood diamonds.
No, I mean, like,
he's referring to something else. He's referring to. I think he's doing a Steven Universe reference.
Yes, I'm taking a dig at Steven Universe and the fact that apparently just singing a few songs makes the war crimes go away.
Poozie, let's not get into Steven Universe right now.
Well, yes, okay, yeah. Okay, no. I would say, I would put him in B tier.
No. I'd say above Daw's Bones because of the durability advantage.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing he's got over it, right?
Yeah,
this is a beetle. This guy's a beetle.
I did not understand
Beetle is D tier.
Steven Universe reference. I thought you were making a dig at blood diamonds.
No, that's too real.
I put it above a caterpillar. Beetles are stronger than caterpillars. Kai-D-O.
The Magikarp fruit.
Oh no. That didn't even occur to me.
The Magikarp
fruit. Now, there's one thing I'm curious about.
Yes.
This is probably something we'll get in a flashback later, but do we know if his Magikarp fruit actually requires an activation? Like, do you only turn into a dragon if you can awaken it?
I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was something like that.
What we do know for sure is that it is incredibly busted because Kaido is obscenely strong.
Yeah, what we've seen of it, absolutely, this thing is just unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. This is one of the strongest devil fruits in the series, and I think it's an easy S tier.
Mm-hmm. It's an easy S tier, and I think a lot of this is kind of why mythical Zoans are busted. Like, mythical Zoans are kind of meta.
Kaido, honestly, I think it's one of the strongest mythical Zoans, if not the strongest.
I would probably say in terms of raw offense, it's the strongest. I would say Marco's probably a better all-rounder.
Kaido is best on offense and defense, but he doesn't have utility like most of the other mythical zones do.
No, he has utility. He has functional telekinesis.
He doesn't have it to the same degree as like Marco or Devon do, though.
That's true. But still,
Marco is a fucking healer, and Devon is a shapeshifter, which are very useful abilities. But yeah, anyways, S tier. The question is where in S tier?
I'd say he's pretty high up in S tier.
I'd honestly put him in the top 5, if not higher. If not, like, in the top 3. I'd say top 5 is fair. I'd put him above or below Fujichora is the question.
I would honestly put him.
So his thing,
one step below Fujitora.
Yeah, that would be my argument, because at the end of the day, how much of certainly the durability factor comes from Kaido, and how much of it comes from the fruit itself?
I think it's a mixture of the two.
Yeah, I think Kaido was already pretty buff before he had the fruit.
Yeah,
based on what we've seen, so. I think the fruit is definitely a factor, but I don't think it's... I think, again, it's one of those cases where I don't think Kaido would be weak without the fruit.
Oh, God, no.
No. He'd still be an absolute monster without the fruit. It's just like, with the fruit, he is on another level.
Yeah.
Kaku.
Turn into a giraffe. Giraffes aren't that tough.
Giraffes are, like, below elephants, but still B tier.
Giraffes can still fuck you up, man.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm saying that. I know, but if an elephant fought a giraffe, the elephant basically wins every time.
Yep.
But that's like one of the few things that a giraffe doesn't outright beat.
I feel like I have the ability to prove or disprove these theories, but based on a game I've got. But obviously, not doing that now.
I'd say put him below Chopper. Khalifa is an interesting one.
Yeah, we don't really know the full details, because, like, even she doesn't know the full details, because she just gotten the fruit.
Yep.
So her bubbles can wash away concepts.
An abstract concept.
Yeah, so her bubbles can basically extract otters from people's bodies. Yes. Because, as we all know, otters are abstract concepts. No, I would honestly say her fruit is like kind of a direct upgrade on Alvita's.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because she doesn't just remove friction. She can remove friction, but she can also remove like your strength and raw physical stats.
The issue is that has the glaring weakness of being washed away by water easily.
True, it's the same weakness as Crocodile, but like water is kind of a universal weakness. She just is weaker to it than most others. And it's important to note that like there's technology-based water manipulation, but there's no water fruit. I don't think there can be. That's like the only core elemental fruit that just cannot exist based on our understanding of One Piece's laws.
Yeah.
So yes,
I'd say
I would say on the basis, I would say solidly high B.
Yeah, I'd put it right below Galdino.
I'd put it above Galdino.
Oh, I can see that.
Because I think they both have weaknesses, but I think you could.
No, I think Galdino has more versatility with his fruit, though.
He does, but its raw power is less.
Yeah, I can see that argument.
I mean, which one's Galdino?
Galdino is Mr. 3.
Ah. Could you please say Mr. 3? I don't know Galdino.
I also was gonna say, I would prefer to call him Mr. 3. It's just like...
Okay, I know Mr. 3. He's got a giant 3 on top of his head. I can remember that. I can't remember Galdino.
I'm sorry. You'll remember this next one. Fucking Conjuro.
Oh god, he's got like a really busted fruit, and he's not exactly bad at using it either.
I'd say an A tier fruit easily. Is literally only limited by the artist's the fruit's artistic skills. Fruit user's artistic skills.
Yeah, and imagination.
That's like literally, yeah, that's really the only limits.
Like, if you think about it, that's kind of terrifying.
Yeah, it's not like got the raw power of any of like the S tier fruits, but it's still a very solid A tier fruit easily. I'd probably put it above Doflamingo's fruit, actually.
Yeah, I would say so. It's just very, very strong. Yeah, and the raw versatility is just something that you cannot beat.
Yeah. Right next is Chroman, Karasu.
His fruit is still unclear because I don't think it's a standard Zoan. Because he doesn't turn into a crow. He turns into a flock of crows. So I'm thinking that if it is a Zoan, it's probably some sort of mythical Zoan.
Mm. They're definitely...
In fact, it might be a Yatagarasu.
They're definitely mythical crow creatures, especially in Japanese folklore.
Yeah, I'm actually, just based on the name alone, I'm leaning towards Yatagarasu.
Mm-hmm.
Which the mirror crow, which is, that's kind of a whole mythological thing.
Yeah.
And it does, like, if he has some sort of illusion abilities, it would make a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. He does seem like the type, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To have some sort of illusion-adjacent abilities.
We simply don't know enough about the fruit's classification, honestly. Yeah. I still think it's an A-tier fruit, because being able to dissolve yourself into a flock of crows is still pretty fucking metal.
It is pretty metal. Pretty intimidating as well.
I think on the coolness factor alone, it's definitely one of the coolest fruits.
But for now, we'll put it at the bottom of A tier because we don't know a lot about it.
But, like, considering the fact that it's the fruit of... Like, if you consider the company that this fruit keeps, then it's pretty clear that it's not going to be low tier.
Yeah. Just imagine if you're fighting some dude and he just suddenly turns into a flock of crows. How fucking terrified would you be?
Absolutely goddamn terrified.
Crows are vicious little things as well.
Yep.
They're also incredibly smart, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of intelligence boost, because God knows that council needs a bit of an intelligence boost. I don't think there's... Okay, also, I know the dragon is, cultivated this sort of, very austere persona, but look at his genes.
Yeah, he's a dumbass, isn't he?
His father is Garp and his son is Luffy. There is no way he's some sort of mastermind.
He is 100% the epitome of better to remain silent than open your mouth and remove all doubt.
Right? I have no doubt about that. So, yeah. Just on the genetic and how important the genes tend to be in this series. How there's a whole Generation Xerox theme going on. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that Dragon is not the sharpest tool in the shed.
Maybe.
Anyways,
Dragon's mum is a genius, and Luffy's mum is the dumbass. Who knows?
Possible. Anyways, Katakuri, the only special Logia on this list. Special Paramecia.
Yeah. AKA what we thought was the explanation between the weirdness of the gum fruit, but it turns out this is the only example in history of Oda writing himself into a corner. I cannot think of any other situation as blatant as this.
Yeah, no, it's just fucking blatant retcon, but it's still a pretty cool fruit.
It's a good fruit. It's like, imagine if the gum fruit was not in the hands of the protagonist and therefore didn't have special powers. I mean, even based on its similarities to the gum fruit alone, you can classify this in the S tier.
Yeah.
Anything below S is a disservice to this fruit. Any disagreement there?
I don't disagree.
I'd say, yeah.
Could it be eaten? It is mochi.
I don't think it deserves to be above. I'd say put it below blue nose fruits.
I can agree with that. Yeah, it's great, but it's not like it's as good as a fruit can be without being blatantly overpowered. I think is the conclusion.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is that?
I don't recognize him. I think he's a filler character. Let me look. Because he might just be a really obscure character that I just don't recognize. But I'm pretty sure he is just a filler character.
Well,
One Piece does have no shortage of very obscure characters that no one recognizes.
Well, considering this is going to be a two-parter, in between, the now and the second part, we can do research on all those we stuck in filler to just make sure that they are filler characters and not just, randos.
I'm confident in all but this last guy, honestly, because I recognize a lot of these from movies and stuff. Kid has a really good fruit. Magnetism is pretty fucking busted.
He's Magneto.
Busted.
My man's is literally Magneto.
He's Magneto light with the extra punk.
I mean, let's be real. I'm sure Magneto had a punk phase in his youth.
Possibly. But I still say this is an A tier fruit, because
actually, given the fact that Magneto is a comic book character, I almost guarantee that there's probably a punk Magneto somewhere in the multiverse.
Yeah. I would not be surprised.
You now got me Googling punk Magneto.
Come on, man.
Let us know if you find it.
Yeah,
That's pretty punk.
I'm sure Magneto had a decently punk phase.
Anyways,
but yeah, okay. Anyway, on the subject of Kid, he does seem pretty busted. Like, he can also make other things magnetic, which is even more busted.
Yeah, the Awakening especially does bump this up quite a bit.
My man's is like, he's OP, right? Like, he's just very, very strong. The only weakness you can conceivably say he has is the existence of...
He generally needs metal to operate properly.
Yes. So he does have environmental factors to consider, but considering the fact that most things in the world have some amount of metal in them, i.e., like human blood, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Theoretically, like this skill is a very high capacity. I would say it's solidly an S tier. Maybe not the highest in S tier, but it is one of the fundamental forces of the universe. Straight up.
I don't think we could put Kid comfortably in S tier just because of that metal limitation. But he does deserve high A tier.
No, because like everything basically has all solid matter has some amount of metal in it.
Yeah, but we haven't seen Kid use it on anything smaller than gears.
True, but just because he hasn't used it doesn't mean he can't.
Well, we don't know if that's possible within the bounds of the fruit's abilities. We know it's able to manipulate small objects.
Okay. Until we. Okay, yeah. In that case, until we know for sure its limits, we can call it.
It's still high A tier fruit. Don't get me wrong, but
it's like definitely near the top of A tier. I'd say
put it somewhere around Ivankov or Katarina. But I'm not sure how much higher you can put it. I would not put it above Blackbeard or Crocodile.
I would not put it above Katarina either.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
I think it's just one step below Katarina.
Yeah. Now here's a pure utility fruit. Kinnamon's Garb fruit.
We don't know the limits of that fruit. We have no idea what that fruit does.
It seems like it's a pure
at
utility.
The top level.
All we know for sure about it is that it can change clothes. It can do it on a pretty grand scale, but it doesn't seem to have any offensive or defensive capabilities. The clothes just are destroyed if they take damage.
But remember that Wano has this weird thing that I'm sure is going to be very, very useful in the long term, where Wano natives who haven't been out in the wider world tend to not really know what devil fruits are. So I have no doubt that Kinnamon hasn't exactly explored the limits of his fruit.
Yeah, but all we know about it for sure is that it is a strictly utility-based fruit. We don't know any offensive or defensive abilities it might have.
Well, it might have defensive abilities, but I think this is a fruit that we...
Action from the elements isn't really a defensive ability, I'd say.
No, but we also, we don't know if it's limited to just regular clothing, or could it also make something like armor, for example?
We don't know. We haven't seen him use it to make armor. We have seen him use it to make clothing, though.
Yeah, but just because... Yeah, so, yeah, I think this is a fruit that we put in high C tier, unless we have more information.
Yeah. I'd say it's a decent utility fruit, but I'd say probably below Cracker.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
King is another ancient zone. So he has the benefits of being a super tough ancient zone while also having the ability to fly, and
Yeah, so I think A for ancient, so I think high A tier.
I'd probably put him right below Kid, honestly.
Yeah, I think King is another one of those people who is very strong, but not necessarily because of his fruit. But that doesn't mean his fruit isn't strong.
I'm sorry, I now associate the name King with Owl House, so this is... Yeah,
this is very
confusing.
Weird. Especially after today's episode.
Yeah.
You need to catch up. We will not say anything, but you need to catch up.
No, I associate King with, there's a lot of characters named King.
Yeah, it's weird. Anyways, Kuma. S tier.
Oh, God. He can push... His fruit allows him to push otters.
Yeah, exactly. He can push otters.
On the subject of the abstract concept thing, well, I've both got you here. Who came up with the rule that we couldn't nominate abstract concepts as villains?
I'm pretty sure it was Mako.
Yeah, I was actually... if I recall correctly, we were both pushing for nominating abstract concepts as villains.
I think we need to scrap that rule.
I'm pretty sure Mako just vetoed it.
We should scrap that rule.
Absolutely. It's abstract concepts are very much in theme with antagonists. I forget, it wasn't Bochi, but it was something. I forget exactly what it was.
That what?
That made us mad that we couldn't nominate it because it was an abstract concept.
It was Sarazanmai, wasn't it? It was the otters.
I feel like there was also an actual abstract concept that we couldn't nominate.
I mean, I was pissed that I couldn't nominate Kai from Bocce.
I was pissed about that as well, yes.
I wanted to nominate her.
Anyways.
Sorry, we're reminiscing.
Kuma.
We're an S tier.
Yeah, Kuma absolutely at the top of S tier, honestly.
The only one I even consider putting him below is Eneru, and that's just because of how busted Eneru is.
No, because he can push lightning, right? Like he can push energy base. Yeah. If he can push pain, he can definitely push energy.
Yeah, literally the only drawback of Kuma's fruit is the POB pads are needed to activate it. But when you're already ludicrously fast because of the fruit,
yeah, the fruit really makes up for its own weakness because it gives you a speed buff.
It basically lets you teleport, which is insane.
It's not to the point of teleportation, but it does give you like very, very fast movement. Like the movement speed
teleportation, basically.
It's no, because it still has the difference of it breaks through obstacles, so it's trajectory dependent still.
All right, and the last one we're tackling this stream is Aokiji, aka Kuzan.
He's the closest we're gonna get to a water element thing.
Mm-hmm. Probably, yeah.
There's a very clever way of getting around that. Yes, ice is just a classic.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think what puts him up above most of the other Logias is that he doesn't have to worry about the sea because he can just freeze the sea.
Yes, that he basically gets around one of the most prevalent disadvantages of characters in this series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd honestly
and he's like the only character who does that.
Yeah, I'd honestly say that like I'd put him right below Caesar.
I would not dispute that, honestly.
Yeah, because like he can straight up refract light too with the ice.
Yes, he can refract light, so he's definitely got something on top of that. Lightning doesn't really make a difference to him because ice is not particularly conductive.
Yeah, well, you still get zapped, and lightning can melt ice.
It can, but at the same time, he can just make more, right? Like, he has the advantage of just quantity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as we all know, quantity is kind of a quality all on its own.
Yeah.
I would say this is a good stopping point, but yeah.
So he's Kuzan between Caesar and Kizaru.
Mm-hmm.
Just to update you on my punk Magneto search. I did find a pretty punk looking Magneto, but apparently they got retconned as not actually being Magneto.
Oh. No, but like, let's be real. If it had to be retconned, that means it was Magneto enough to be Magneto. I think it counts.
Like it was a character who Magneto was disguising themselves as, and then died at the end of that run, and then came back in another run, and they basically said, "Oh, that wasn't actually Magneto." So
it's like how Dr. Doom never gets defeated, it's only a Doombot. Like, let's be real. The intent of the original author was probably that's Punk Magneto.
Then have you heard of Zorn?
No, and that alone tells me what we need to know about the fact that it's basically Punk Magneto.
Not gonna lie, that looks like a pretty Punk Magneto to me.
Look, if they have to make a D-list or a Z-list retcon to hide Punk Magneto, that means they're hiding Punk Magneto. Like, the fact that they took so many efforts means that it's Magneto.
Like, I posted a picture of him in the chat. Like, take a look at him. That's pretty punk, to my mind.
Yep, it's pretty punk, and it's also pretty Magneto.
Yeah, it is pretty Magneto. So yeah, so that's the end of the stream. We will be coming back to this. No fucking clue when, because we do not have a lot of time open in the schedule with Pride Month coming up.
God, like this is our second Pride Month.
Yeah.
Coming up, like we've been doing this for over a year. That means.
Yeah. kind of just skipped
awesome
over
and also terrifying.
We kind of just skipped over our year anniversary. Just didn't bother doing anything for it.
I don't think we even. I don't even remember when our year anniversary was.
It's like end of October, early November. But yes, no idea when we'll come back to this, but we will definitely come back to this. Promise that much. Just like we promised so many times that we would go to fucking Vermeer and Mass Effect, we will do this again.
No, for example, we could do this tier list during, like, for example, a Persona 4 grinding stream.
Maybe.
If you just want to grind a little in P4 and then just, like, do this on the side.
Maybe, yeah. We
the
might be able
sort of
to,
thing
depending on
if
Jack is available. Yeah, we can do it on a Tuesday. To be fair.
Yeah, right. Like, I've been a bit busy recently, but I can definitely make time on a Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fun stream to do, right? Like, it's
No, it's not bad.
It's definitely worth doing,
because,
like, especially if we go in with the mentality that we're not going to do it all in one sitting, I think it can make for, like, we did have to rush it a little bit this time, but if we go in with the mentality next time that we take our time and just do however many we can in our time slot, then I think it'll be a lot more fun as well.
Yeah, I think we will be able to. It's just such a large list.
Yeah,
it's a large list, and it requires a bit more attention than a lot of other.
It's very easy to get lost in the weeds on this one.
I think
and the nuances and technicality.
I think we'll be able to get through them all next time, because part of the issue is that we spent so long in the first, dozen or so just actually solidifying what we wanted for our criteria.
Yes, it's like we did have to set the ground rules first.
And now that we've done that,
them quickly.
Yeah, now that we've done that, we should be able to get through stuff a lot quicker next time. But yeah, Jack, we were just saying we're probably going to do it on a Tuesday.
How about next Tuesday? Or would you rather not?
My idea is that, like, Emil could be grinding in Persona 4 in the background while we do it, so you can do both Persona 4 and the tier list.
I mean, that's up to Mil.
I mean, the issue is that either they're watching me grind or they're watching the tier list.
No, you can make 2 windows in OBS.
The other issue would be is that I would have to be stopping constantly to drag stuff across.
Yeah, that's the other issue.
That's the primary issue. Yeah.
I can still grind. I can still grind. It's just nobody will be able. Actually, no, I couldn't, because I'd still be the one controlling it.
Yeah.
It's fine. We'll just do it without P4 in the background. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay, yeah. If you're willing, that's totally fine by me as well.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Well, totally doable.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to, like, step on the toes of the P4 series.
We've been doing P4 enough outside of Tuesdays that we can skip a Tuesday.
That's also fair.
Actually, no, we can't do it this Tuesday because Gen and I are doing Road 96, and that's going to be very good. I'm looking forward to that.
Right.
Right, I forgot Road 96. How are the reviews for that?
Very good. That's one
of those series that could go either way.
I watched Lanny play it. It does seem very good. I liked it.
Oh, shit! Okay. I know who the guy we skipped over was. That we didn't know if he was canon or not. He's Kelly Funk, the guy with the jacket fruit. A.k.a. the worst little fruit in the series.
Right!
So that?
Yeah, that is kind of incredibly a bad fruit. It's not only is it pure utility, the utility isn't even that good.
So we
go
in that
then? A lot of requirements to use it.
So we go yes
properly.
But I think that's our first F tier.
Cool. Glad we got that sorted. So we will definitely do this on a Tuesday at some point. In terms of other future stuff, tomorrow will be P4 Golden. We've supposedly got the culprit in jail, but it's August, so there's no way that's fucking true. I didn't mean trusting the police. I just don't trust a police force with that fuck up Adachi on it. Tuesday, as we just said.
Something 1312.
As we just said. No, I'm sorry. I'm going full all cops are bastards after the events of the fucking Texas shooting. They're not fit for purpose anymore. They probably never have been.
We can talk about that after the stream. I think that might be too heavy for the stream.
Don't care. I'm saying it. But yes, beside the point. Tuesday is part of the point because we are Gen and I will be playing Road 96, a story-based roguelike where you try and get teens out of fascist dictatorship. Thursday should be Ace Attorney, finishing the second Ace Attorney game, Justice for All. And then next Saturday is the start of our Pride Month lineup, which is that the Saskia Miyano Stranger by the Shore one? Is that what we're starting with?
I think, yeah.
That's what it says on the schedule.
Okay,
I need
good.
to watch Stranger by the Shore, though. So
yeah, we do need to watch Stranger by the Shore fairly soon. Then I especially need to do it because I'll be cancelling my Funny subscription soon. Because there's no point keeping that.
Yeah.
Oh right, isn't it like
95% of the stuff I'm going to watch now is on fucking Crunchyroll. Annoyingly enough, though, ID Invaded isn't. I don't know why. It's made it very frustrating when I decided, I want to watch some really good scenes of ID Invaded right now. I'll go to Crunchyroll. Oh, it's not on Crunchyroll. Oh god, it's unfunny.
Yeah.
Oh god, there's a reason why I was so glad everything moved to Crunchyroll.
Also, you know what else is unfunny? Apari Ranman.
No, that's definitely on Crunchyroll now.
Nope,
surely.
it's unfunny. It's unfunny.
Is it? Oh my god,
I
surely
looked for
not.
it on Crunchyroll and it was not on Crunchyroll.
Surely not. Oh my god.
You.
What the fuck? Funny, please! Crunchyroll, please! I need these! Don't make me get a subscription to you just for those.
Stream. I think we need to, if the audience wants our sweet salty tears on stream, they need to pay extra. So
okay.
Yes, thank you everyone for joining us.
Do give us a follow here on Twitch and on Twitter. Link is in the chat. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you tomorrow for Persona 4 Golden, where we get to tell Yosuke to go fuck himself multiple times.
Yes. Dunking on Yosuke. That's fun.
Has there ever been, like, a good Persona 4 magician? Or Persona magician?
Who was it in fucking 5?
Ryuji.
I like Ryuji.
No, it was Morgana.
Oh, Morgana. Okay, yeah, no. Yeah, Ryuji was Chariot, I think.
Well, no. Okay, Ryuji and Yosuke serve the same purpose. First human friend.
Yeah, but Ryuji is actually half decent. He's not a homophobe. I know it's a low bar, but he's not a homophobe.
No, he was like, okay, yeah. Yeah.
Ryuji has his issues.
Once again.
Ryuji has his issues,
but
he's okay.
And thank you, everyone, and have a good night. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Later.